just stuck a needle in my arm. Well, Uncle Doc's nurse used a needle with ungodly charm. Whoa, 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 whoa. Walking down the hall, the dentist loomed through the door. I saw an X-ray of a girl passing gas. The one-shot theory got a weary, things got rolling and laughed.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 99 of Masters of the Forge. Willkommen auf Folge 99 auf Masters of the Forge. To all you German listeners out there. Well, 99 episodes, that's very exciting. We'll talk more about that in the outro, but that's pretty special.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Jason, so how you been? How's Batwing going? Are you having a nice time? I personally am wearing a pair of swim trunks.
I hate you.
But because I've got, I got to make sure to protect the goods, so I am also still wearing a pair of underpants under the bathing suit. But still.
Okay. Well, it's, I'm not even sure how hot it is because I don't even want to look. Yeah. All the lights are off around my office. Curtains are drawn. I hope you don't want me to read anything because the only thing I can see is my screen.
Right.
That's about it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think we'll be okay, you know.
I'm going to tell you that water is on tap tonight, and oh man.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
I have what's left of my Starbucks Grande cold brew.
Ooh. That sounds nice.
It's good. It's good.
Smooth.
But yeah, it's warm. That's okay. It's okay. So what have you been up to in the hobby recently, Jason?
Hobby. Well, as we kind of mentioned, it's a little warm down here. So I have been hobbying. It's just been certain things, not others. I did finish reading Angel Exterminatus, which is supposed to be a book about...
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's really a good book. I do enjoy it. It's supposed to be about Pertuabo and the Iron Warriors, but Fulgrim shows up a lot, and which is kind of interesting. Also, the Imperial Fish show up, and Lucius, and also the Shattered Legions show up. There's some interesting characters in this book. There's a Raven Guard.
Oh yeah, I read about those in the notes, like when researching the notes for this episode.
Yeah.
Like all kinds of people from Traitor Legions who fight against Fulgrim and stuff.
Well, yeah, the two that show up in Exterminatus, Angel Exterminatus, which these guys aren't even main characters. It's a guy named Nikano Shirokin and Sabik Wayland from the Raven Guard and Horse and Iron Hands. And the note I have here is, it's the buddy cop team that you didn't know you wanted. They just kind of run through and just cause problems for Pertuabo and Fulgrim throughout the entire thing, but they're not main characters, so it's kind of funny. But one thing I have written in my notes is every time I read anything about Fulgrim or the Emperor's Children, I'm always kind of reminded of G.G. Allen or, the Butthole Surfers or that whole kind of punk ethos that was, we're going to take this farther than anyone should ever take it. That's been kind of the vibe.
Yeah, what was it, that one Butthole Surfers song where it basically sounds like just one person playing a guitar in the Garden of Unearthly Delights. Yeah. Well, I guess we just found our new intro song for this episode.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
That song is only like 10 minutes long. I'm sure people will listen to a 10-minute intro music.
Yeah, so that was that book. It was actually a really good book. I was kind of not shocked that it was good. I mean, I knew it was going to be really good because it was Graham McNeil, but I didn't know that I would actually find Pertuabo to be as fascinating as he comes across in this book. So that was the reading. Hobby. So it's been a little warm, and I typically paint upstairs in my office/studio, where I work. And my office is just way too hot. So what I did this week, or last 2 weeks, I built the Sikaran Punisher that just came out from Forge World, and I did a red base coat on it. So I got it, built, primed, and base coated. This model is so much, like the molds are so much better designed than the Venator model.
Nice.
Because that Venator, I mean, I showed you pictures where there was like a resin gate that was the size of my thumb. And I was like, we'll need a hobby saw. While the gate was a lot smaller, I was able to actually tear it apart using just regular clippers. And it actually went together very quickly. The Venator had not mold issues, but it had some casting issues, and I had to kind of fight with stuff. But the Punisher was just like easy. I got it built and put together in about an hour and a half, and that was with cleaning, so that's kind of shocking. Let's see. I also built a squad of Dark Furies and a squad of Mordathan for my Raven Guard Horus Heresy list, which is pretty cool. And I built a special character for the Blood Ravens, and it's a captain that has double swords, but they're the Kopesh swords from the Forge World.
Yeah, well, you gotta have double. You gotta have somebody with double swords.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the two other lieutenants, or guys I'm going to count as lieutenants, that each one has a sword and a bolter. I thought, let's give this guy 2 swords because then it's more swashbuckling, I guess. I don't know. I thought it'd be fun. He may completely be horrible on the tabletop, but let's see. And the last thing in my notes, I need to give a shout out to Games Workshop and Forge World customer support. I've had some problems with the White Dwarf subscription. Like, since I've had it for almost a year now, I think I've missed 4 or 5 issues. Like, either haven't shown up or whatever. And they're getting that fixed. I mean, I let them know, and the next thing I know, like 2 days later, I have the issue. But it's, they've been really good about fixing that, and I'm really happy about that. For Forge World sent me the wrong Horus Heresy book, one of the black books. And those can be kind of pricey. But they sent me the wrong one, and, I contacted them and said, hey, I can mail this back. What do you want me to do? And they said, no, it's cool. Go ahead, keep it. We'll go ahead and send you a new one. So the one they gave me, I'm going to donate to you, Adam. Yay! Especially since you went through and have 5 Forge World Knights. And they gave me the Knights book, so I think you should have that one. That's Horus Heresy number 4. So we may be talking about the campaign, supplement building stuff in the future, just to see what they have to say. So, yeah, I want to give a big shout out to both Games Workshop and Forge World for being really cool and taking care of me.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you, man? How's your hobby been?
Well, what have I been up to? Well, a lot of kind of inability to focus, so that's good. That's always fun. I had a nice
whatever.
Couple of hours a few nights ago with Wendy. She was doing some color blocking on her dwarf team, which was really nice.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really cool. And she's now on 1 hour a night as well, so she can see what your idiot friends are up to.
She can stalk me.
Yeah, well, remember.
So she was doing that, and I got all of my remaining Noise Marines washed in Screamer Pink. I want to say Screamer Pink. Yeah, Screamer Pink.
Okay, hold on.
Screamer Pink is a...
You just said washing in Screamer Pink. Washing brings colors down, but you didn't Screamer Pink, which makes me laugh.
Yeah, isn't that great? So wash them in Screamer Pink. The next stage is to dry brush them in the next 2 colors up. I think it's Emperor's Children is the next one, and then the lighter one, whichever. I think it's Tentacle Pink or some. I don't know.
Yeah,
they're. I'll let you know what those are when I do it. But then I was like, well, I really should finish this Librarian because we're going to be playing in Fall of Konor.
Yeah.
So, and I want to use my Space Marines, and I definitely want to use that Librarian. I don't want to bring the Captain in until we go up to a higher points.
Yeah.
So I finished painting my Librarian, which was good fun. He's looking pretty sweet. Next thing I know, I'm buying a unit of Reavers for $60. I got the Space Marine Codex and some Reavers at the shop on Monday.
Yeah.
I played the first game in our Konor campaign. We had 16 people show up to that, which was awesome. I had to throw some people in a team game. We had so many people.
That's incredible.
Which was super sweet.
Yeah.
I played my game against Alexis. She had already had a game against, I think it was, I forget who. Oh, Hank.
Okay.
From, he's my buddy who came over from, I think he lived in Chicago. He was living in Chicago, and now he lives in upstate New York. I knew him from Freebooters and from the Adepticon. Now he lives in our area.
Oh, cool.
But she played him. And so I played her again. She was kind of playing she had her Sisters of Battle, but I guess there's a sister called Sister Sabathia who intentionally fell to chaos, and which is interesting. I think we should look into that at some point.
Yeah.
But so I played against her and heartily lost my game. But it wasn't too bad. I think I put up a good fight. And I'm just getting used to the Space Marines. I put up an article about how I plan on moving forward with my Star Eagles. Mm-hmm. And long story short is I think Ultramarines Chapter Tactics is still the way to go for my army.
Yeah.
Simply because I'm still doing kind of these hit and fade tactics followed up with heavy support infantry. Mm-hmm. Infantry fire support. So being able to get into combat and then get out of combat is very narrative for my chapters. So I'm gonna keep doing that. And instead of drop pods, we're gonna buy a couple of repulsors when they come out.
Yeah. Okay.
So that should be good. I haven't really looked at the I need to bust open the Codex and see what I'm going to do to fill out the rest of the army. But I'm pretty sure after 2 repulsors, there's not going to be much left after what I've already got. So I think that'll be my collection.
Yeah. That's
for the time being.
2 repulsors is going to take up quite a bit.
It's going to be expensive too.
A lot of points.
Yes. I'm probably not going to buy much
after that. Yeah.
I need to buy Raptors for my Emperor's Children.
Yeah.
So that's probably I need to buy at least 4 boxes of those, and that's not going to be cheap either.
No.
So, I love that we're going to be getting the Chaos Space Marines and the Grey Knights book, but it's probably gonna come tomorrow or Saturday. I'm hoping to get a game in with John using the new books tomorrow.
Yeah,
but didn't show up today, so it'll be a crapshoot whether it shows up tomorrow.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so that's kind of annoying. So I'm going to tell John, hey, John, you don't come over until I call you because I don't know if we're going to have the books or not yet.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they'll come tomorrow, but we'll see. I hope they do, or else I don't know when we're going to edit that episode because...
yeah, it's coming.
Anyways,
it's coming down.
Something gift horse, something whatever.
Yeah.
So we also, I think that's about it for my. I assembled the Reavers last night. Hung out with my buddy Pat.
Yeah.
Assembled those Reavers. I was gonna do them with the assault bolters.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes sense for them to be able to like shoot the assault bolters. Assault in, attack a bunch, and then jump out and shoot again and everything. Mm-hmm. But they looked too awesome with the combat knives and heavy bolt pistols.
Yeah.
I just did that anyways because they look so cool. And of course the grapnel hooks, which are super awesome, like not only as a conceptual thing, but just for their in-game use. Because if somebody's sitting on like a level 2 or a level 3,
yeah,
you can ignore that vertical distance. So if you jump in within 9 inches or just outside of 9 inches, you actually have like a 6-inch charge.
Yeah.
So they're pretty cool. So we put those on. And I think that fits their kind of idiom anyways. It's worth spending the couple of points per guy to get those just because they're awesome.
Yeah.
There's no turning back now. That stuff's glued on, so... I mean, I guess I could have magnetized the arm. Whatever.
Hey, man.
I can always magnetize it later, because the right arm shoulder pad is molded on. So you're not limited... on your shoulder pad, you're not limited on your right arms.
Yeah.
So if you want to swap out the gun, you can.
Okay.
The right arm gun. The pistol's in the left arm, so you're limited by shoulder pads there.
Yeah.
But the right arm is fine. You can just magnetize whatever you want. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know. I probably won't even bother. You know me. I'll just buy another freaking pack, whatever.
Well, because, I mean, you are into it for the painting and the modeling, so it's no big deal if you go through and magnetize that. Or you don't magnetize it.
I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
I just can't be bothered. And Space Marines are wicked easy to paint anyways.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably get a wash and highlight. I'll get them color blocked by the end of the night, I bet. So,
yeah.
It's whatever. Actually, tonight, what? Probably not, because tonight I have to put together the packet for
Saturday.
Our team tournament this Saturday. Yeah. Because I have to take the missions that we have and adjust the wording for
8th edition.
Teams. Yeah, I already adjusted them for 8th edition, did kind of a first pass with that. But I have to update, like, wherever it says player, I have to be like, okay, that means team and all that. And so that'll probably be what I do tonight.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I might...
Yeah.
I'll probably finish up the Sakara and the Punisher, or start working on it more, because all it has is... Mm-hmm. I did red, but, I did red the way I do it, which is, multiple reds. I get 3 reds, and it's, it's 3 colors right there, or 3 hues. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3 hues.
Yeah,
that's a big difference for 3 colors.
That's tabletop, right?
I think when John and I have our game, it's going to be really sad. I'm going to take a picture just to and annoy half the people on my Facebook feed. Because I get comments every time I play against someone who's not fully painted. I get some kind of comment. So it's gonna be ridiculous now because I never play unpainted really or proxy, but it's gonna be pretty bad when I do this Emperor's Children game because I'll have one squad of painted guys. The rest are either gonna be unpainted or, in the case of my Raptors are all gonna be orcs. So
I'm good with that.
That'll be quite the difference compared to John's fully painted Grey Knight's army.
Yeah, fully painted, NMM, all that.
Yeah,
non-metal metallic.
To the nines.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but it's not that good.
Well, look at it this way.
Always misses spots.
I believe firmly in the more of my models you kill, the better painted I become. So...
So, this episode is about the Emperor's Children, coincidentally. I guess we kind of did pick this because I was working on the Legion anyways. But we have the Codex coming out, and we'll actually have contents with that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is a pretty dangerous time to be doing topics like this because new Codexes are dropping like the beats at a really bad rave club. So
I like
we're going to have to look at that. We're going to start off with an interview with Mike Brandt from the Nova Open. Yep. Sorry, Pablo. Your event is coming up way after this one, so we're going to do the Nova Open interview in this episode, and we're going to do the Las Vegas Open interview in episode 100. So yeah. Pablo, you'll get that supreme slot in our 100th episode. So
and we'll probably forget which episode it is. So we're gonna have the same old. Is this 100 or 101? I don't know. Whatever.
Awesome. Then after that, if John and I get an opportunity to record it, we'll have the segment on the new codexes that dropped this week. And then after that, we'll get on with the segment on In the Lore for Emperor's Children. Stay tuned.
Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for Plus Blood Ravens Chapter Plus on Facebook using the plus symbol if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power. Guard it well.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. We have a special guest today. On the show, we have Mike Brandt from the incredible Nova Open. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
It's nice to be on the show, guys. How are you?
Oh, super great, super great. I know that you're super duper busy, but I'm glad you came on to chat about the show and all the great things that y'all have going on over at the Nova. We're happy to run ads for the charitable foundation, first of all, because it is such, you guys, you support some really great causes and everything like that. So why don't we dial it back and just talk in very general terms about what is the Nova Open and why should people be interested in attending? Because I know that's a pretty big topic, but just to give the listeners an idea of the kinds of things you have going at your event.
Sure, and it is a big topic. It's not one I ever expected would be a big topic. I think 9 years ago, this will be our 8th Nova Open and our 9th year running a charitable event in August, as it were. Mm-hmm. 9 years ago, we thought we would do a tournament to cap just a local 40K league, but we thought, why not set it up outside on picnic tables, grill out, and have a little 4-round single-day event. Mm-hmm. It went well. Mm-hmm. That was fine. We raised a few bucks for breast cancer research. But it coincided with beginning its tournament circuit support, which it did briefly. I don't know if you guys remember, for like a year or two. Mm-hmm. This plan where if you ran an event, you got a certain amount of Games Workshop support, and so we felt inspired to grow. We went to a local conference spot, and we 30 people somehow to 128.
Yeah, that must have been quite the painting and terrain session, huh?
That's a way to put it. I really don't feel like flashbacks today, but we'll go with it went well somehow.
Okay, good.
And yeah, this is our eighth one, and I think we're expecting over 2,000 people this year.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So every year we say we're not going to add anything, we're not going to grow, we're not going to add anything, we can't do this, we can't add more, don't add anything. And then as of today, you can now buy tickets to our most recent ads as late as August 1st, in a couple of General's Handbook 2 for Sigmar and Shadespire seminars that Games Workshop just added.
Nice.
Second. So we seem to not be able to follow our own advice, and this year we have probably 200 to 250 events ranging from tournaments to narrative organized play events that run all weekend long to one-off, gaming events that are lightly organized just to help people get games here and there.
Right.
To well over 100, I think, or close to 100 different seminars. They're everything from sneak peek reveals of first-time world looks at things from Games Workshop to, paint seminars from some of the best guys in the world, really. We even fly over Rome and the Pot from massive voodoo to teach classes.
That's awesome.
And there's, a giant vendor hall. There's a paint competition called Capital Palette that's pretty amazing every year. There's a lot of social activities. We're located basically right in DC, so people will often bring their spouses or their kids, and they will, head into the city and check things out either after their games or one half of the family unit will go check out the city.
Absorb American history and culture.
Sure. Or, DC's awesome bar scene. Depends on what suits you. No comment. The heart of it, though, is the social element and the charity.
Yeah.
So for us, if you were to ask most people who work with Nova much, we would say that we put on a giant party full of gamers in support of charity.
Nice.
It's the whole reason we exist. It's what we do. It's the culture that we purvey. We are run by a massive group of we're all volunteers. None of us make a penny running Nova. Most of us have all of our families roped into it, all of our best friends roped into it.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us have met those people through it. I met my wife at a party hosted by one of my volunteers.
Nice.
So it's there's something special about Nova that goes beyond just the games or the type of games. It's very much a family. Try to make everybody feel welcome. I shake everybody's hand at the con.
That's
this
great.
year. I'm not sure if I'll be able to. If I do, don't shake my hand by the end of the weekend. But
quarantined after that.
Yeah. Con, you've never seen con crud till you've been me after a Nova. But yeah, it's good. We hope to raise a bunch of great money for charity this year. We have a whole bar. We turn a part of the hotel into a charity bar by pulling an ABC license and running it with the charity.
Uh-huh.
This awesome bar in the hotel. You can hang out all weekend with industry favorites and friends, and everything you drink or eat is beneficial to good causes, and it's just a good time.
That is freaking awesome. Well, I've heard that like you've pulled in your family and all the all these volunteers and stuff, and it's very much a charitable event, and it always has been, and that's part of what makes it special, to the point where I think you've inspired a lot of other events to at least tack on a charitable portion to their events, which that's kind of that whole lead by example, pay it forward kind of mentality, which is fantastic. That's super fantastic.
Maybe a little bit. I will only caution that we are simply set up the foundation so that gamers could be find an easy avenue to contribute. We certainly we're not the first gamers to give of their hearts and their times. So we're just happy to be part of a great community that we sort of all are a part of.
That's awesome. So let's dovetail that real quick into how to support the charity. Not everybody can make it to Nova, but everybody can contribute to the charities. And I love that, each auction does support a specific charity. So if you're specifically interested in a a charity, you can support that specific charity if you want to, and it's easier than ever to donate because there are so many great groups out there who kind of police these charities to make sure they're doing what they need to do to support the people they say they support. I'm sure you've put a lot of effort into choosing these charities, but if folks want to independently check them, they can. And I think, before you comment on that, I want to say it's pretty genius to do the raffle instead of an auction, because I really feel like you can get a lot more bang for your buck with a raffle than an auction, because more people can donate, more people can feel like they're contributing, and to be honest, you can collect a lot more than the value of the of the things you're raffling off, right?
Yes, well, you hit it there, spot on. And it's also neat to be able to do it worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of Nova Open started as just an LLC, and we quickly learned that really couldn't get done what you needed to do in an ethical and also an optimized way for charity unless you had a 501c3 that was an independent organization. So we have that. So the 501c3, the Nova Open Charitable Foundation, is a sister organization to Nova Open. Completely transparent books and completely transparent operations, so that everyone who participates worldwide knows that everything that goes directly to those charitable works. But the raffle idea is pretty much exactly what you said. The fact that everyone has a chance to win things makes it more interesting to be a part of it and more rewarding to support it, in the sense that not everybody wants to give something for nothing. In this case, you don't. You actually get a chance to win some pretty incredible things that are put together by obviously a consortium of artists around the world that Dave Taylor and Lori Brandt have put together. That is amazing. The fact that some of these armies are painted by in some cases, 15, 20 different artists, yet they all look like they're part of the exact same quality force is, to me, mind-boggling. And it's neat to return that, because I think we've twice had raffle winners in Tasmania, of all places. No knock on awesome. Anyone in Australia or elsewhere.
But that's pretty remote, though.
There is. There's a dark spot in the UPS tracking on that where
that's
tell us they showed up.
You have some incredible names here, like everybody, Max Dubois, Dave Taylor, Justin McCoy, all Celso Mendez, he's incredible. Like, all these people are just, they're top notch, and it to me, it's a miracle that they get these armies looking exactly alike the way they do. But I guess for these names, it's not that super serious, because these are real names in the community for sure.
Well, they're so far out of my league. I wouldn't guess at how easy or hard it is, but I do know that usually one of the guys comes up with, and then they weigh in on the color palettes. They're sponsors for everything, paint, for the whole works. It's very well supported by the industry, which seems to be an industry that really cares about.
Awesome, that's great.
But somehow they all stay on the same page. They've got these millions of emails I kind of eyeball, where they're talking about exactly how to do the paint styles, and they expand their own capabilities, which is neat. I know John Steining, who's amazing, painted one of the Night Titan for the Mars Army, I believe. And I remember watching his blog as he's talking about trying this brand new that one of the guys taught him, and watching him learn it, but then apply it brilliantly. It's just kind of neat to watch every year.
That's great. So, do you want to rattle off some of the charities that you're supporting this year?
I would love to. It's going to take me a minute. I mean, we obviously, our heart and soul beginning charity armies that we supported were Doctors Without Borders.
Yeah.
Led by the Doctors Without Borders charitable efforts that went on in the community before the NOCF existed. We support the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, which is where I started. Lori Brandt is a big part of.
Oh, wait, you started that?
The first charity we supported was the Breast Cancer Research Foundation.
Okay, yeah. I love the BCRF because it's, not to knock awareness. Awareness is great, but the fact the BCRF, like, the majority of those donations just goes to curing cancer. Like,
bingo. And that is one of our major, sometimes folks will donate armies, and they'll specify a charity they like to support, and we'll still vet it, but it might be, if it's not a well-rated charity, we will not support it. But if it's close and decent, we'll probably support that if someone has like a directed army or something like that they'd like to leverage foundation for. But for most of the work, we only use charities that are in the 90 plus kind of range that have the vast majority. I mean, the 90+% of their raised dollars go directly to the work.
Nice.
Important to us not to support directly as often as we can charities where only 60 or 70% of the dollars that are raised actually benefit charity. The rest go to events, and they go to.
Well, yeah, you have to pay for the thing.
But in addition to Doctors Without Borders and BCRF, we support the International Rescue Committee. We support the Fisher House Foundation, which has been a big drive of ours for years. It's sort of the Ronald McDonald House of U.S. Army veterans who've been wounded.
Mm-hmm.
Together during time of recovery and need. And there's really a number of others. I don't want to do fair injustice by missing even one of them, but those are four of the biggest. And if you go to the website, which is novaopenfoundation.org,
okay.
In addition to seeing all the artists and their bios and seeing all the current raffles, each raffle will have its own custom graphic. It'll have all the information about which charity it supports.
Awesome.
And of course, you can buy raffle tickets.
Awesome. Great. And people can buy tickets anytime, right? Like they could just be like, oh, you know what? I feel like giving a little bit more to this one or that one. And those get...
Sort of.
Okay.
The big ones shut down right before the con ends.
Okay.
So even though you can win it from anywhere in the world, the actual sales end because we draw the biggest ones at the con.
Nice.
But there's usually other ones that go on beyond that, either because they were added late in the process or who knows what.
Right.
And so the long and short is, you'll always have a chance to go on there and usually find something of interest. But the big date to remember is the end of the Nova Open is usually when the big armies are wrapped up.
Uh-huh.
And that'll be, of course, this year, Monday, September 3rd. Sometime around noon is probably about the latest you can buy.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, if you want this Relic Sakaran tank here, there's only 1,000 tickets going to be sold. So get on that, everyone. $2 a ticket. How can you not donate? How can you not throw some bucks at this thing? Absolutely. So let's talk about the Nova Open itself. I know there are tons of opportunities for gaming. I know that there's a big narrative event that goes on. I know that you put a lot of effort into it. So is there still room in the narrative for folks to join?
Some. So the narrative is a cool story. It was probably 6 years ago or 7 years ago, 6 years ago when we ran our first. And I was inspired by the notion that, probably at first, one of my big personal narrative events is the coincidence of every single faction all being in the same reason all at the same time. There happens to be a Tyranid splinter fleet. Mm-hmm. Even though all the guys who showed up have Tyranids painted like, Behemoth or Leviathan, there happens to also be like a Chaos artifact that's drawing everybody, and the Corsairs are there because they're probably there. And there's an Eldar craft world nearby because they saw the future and wanted to be there. And all the guard, it stretches the bounds of creativity. And you can also do a directed one or a focused one where you've only got a couple factions represented, but that's difficult for a once a year con. Factions basically sideshow.
Yeah, so if you're breaking the fourth wall anyways.
Exactly.
You might as well just go for it.
We invented our own universe, in a sense, and we leveraged 40K as the mechanism by which to drive and experience that universe. And somehow everybody bought into it, and ever since then it has gotten more and more of a big thing. Plus, a couple years ago, Joe Capina and a lot of the other guys together and started basically taking the helm on the narrative, and they are big into narrative events and big into narrative gaming, and they've really infused even more sort of strength and flavor into it. So it still follows the original story of like its own universe. It's not 40K or anything else, but it's entirely driven by 40K the game. And so everyone playing in it chooses one of the two sides when they register. There's some rejiggering, but you either play for the Virtue, which are for humanity, and it's come thousands of years in the game story's history over the past 6 or 7 years. So there's people who come back every year who have been voted on or who have ascended to the ranks of what are called warlord registrants, available to those who have done it several times before it gets open to the general public.
Yeah.
And there's, basically all day, every day, there's activities ranging from strategic sessions over beers in the charity bar to a wide variety of different game types, ranging from recon squads to a big apocalypse game at the end. But there's singles games. And so for people who are looking for a really diverse experience to sort of stretch their 40K wings and do all sorts of different types of games, all within a really cool, immersive narrative with a lot of injects, with a lot of, smart GMing that's not too invasive. It's a really cool experience. You really should look in all the primers to get more of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's at novaopen.com, right? Where people can find that kind of stuff.
Go there and go to any of the gaming tabs and click Warhammer 40,000. You'll see all the narrative primer links and the like.
That's great. Even if it's somewhat tongue in cheek, our listeners very much are interested in a narrative experience and having fun while doing that. And I think that this is the kind of thing that would really tickle someone's fancy. And again, I agree with you. I think a lot of the time when we do big narrative events, sometimes we're just, it does get pretty ridiculous. The narrative hoops you have to jump through in order to suggest why these factions are all there at the same time. So this is a great way to kind of honor the narrative, but also allow everyone to participate.
Yeah, and we sort of commit overboard to it. So we've had, there was a great case where between 2 years, and this is just a snippet, I won't waste too much of your time.
No, yeah.
Where had barely survived and had to sort of abandon Earth. So Earth was destroyed a few years ago.
Okay.
And because they didn't have faster than light travel yet, there was a lag time between story. Their commander was able to send them messages, and when they would arrive at their destination where the sort of combat would resume the next year. Mm-hmm. And so in support of that, even narrative for several years, his name's Owen, he's one of our exec board members now. He actually was in full costume the whole time. He always had this military, officer's attire that he wore every single year as part of, the two leads running one of the two factions. He recorded a briefing as if he were basically sending these folks into cryo before they went on their journey. Arrived at the narrative, we sat them down in this briefing room, and they basically got to hear this briefing before beginning that weekend's events. It was one of the first times that we had the warlords as having to actually, people who'd been in the narrative for many years who actually had to get involved in directing and leading folks' strategy in between battles during the weekend. So it's a really cool narrative in that if you only want to taste it, you can do one-off games. Most of the events are a la carte to a degree. Mm-hmm. You can do the night fighter games, which are evenings only. Mm-hmm. Games, or you could do the whole weekend event.
That's a good option for people who might be doing the GT and stuff.
Exactly. Although we want to make sure that the narrative is not a place where, at nights you have to deal with a bunch of hard to the walls lists.
Yeah. That's cool.
We don't rule it out, but there's definitely some careful management by the GMs to make sure that those who came for the pure narrative aren't faced with, Six Storm Raven and things like that throughout their whole
filth. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That's great. It's great to hear that they are so committed to it, to everyone's good time, which, that's probably a TO's most important duty. To be honest.
You spend thousands of dollars making it out to DC for a weekend. We are not going to leave you having not anything less than a good time.
Right. So, Jason, did you want to jump in there?
Good. No, I was just, keep going.
Okay, cool. So Mike, speaking of the GT, I think from my personal perspective, from my limited experience so far, I just went to a tournament yesterday, and they used the Nova missions up in the portal in Manchester, Connecticut, and we've played with the Nova missions before, and we enjoy the missions. Our group didn't quite tack on to the FAQ and stuff that was used, but we've always really enjoyed the missions because they really focus on player choice and army mock-up or army makeup, and even if you're doing a narrative campaign, you might want to take a look at some of the stuff in these missions because it's really awesome, especially in 8th edition, because 8th edition is all about you making choices for your army or you making choices for your miniatures. And I think these missions really cater to that. You guys are doing a really great job. And I think even more than ever, because I know, no matter what pack you use, a lot of the progressive missions always they always score like at the start of the next turn, or at the start of your turn instead of the end. So in the past, it was very difficult for some more fragile armies to score those, but with some of the new stratagems allowing you to automatically pass morale and re-roll and everything like that, it's become easier for armies like mine, like orcs, to do these progressive missions and stuff and do well. I think everybody had a wonderful time at the tournament I went to, and everybody seems to be really happy with the missions.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed them. The design intent is very much what you hit on. And I'll tell you, an inspiration unabashedly originally came from the game Malifaux. Mm-hmm. And that one of the things in that game that you observe is that there's a secret pool of schemes before the game that everybody has, but a shared strategy. Mm-hmm. And there's a limit to how much you can score per turn with any one of them, or in total with any one of them. Very hard to just dominate one phase of the game because of the type of list you have. So in your traditional game, if you have something like a kill units mission, but you could also get some extra points here and there, if you're really good at killing units, you could max that score and just keep going as long as there are things to still kill. Hard for an army that's more focused on objectives, for instance, to catch up. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the heart. So mission becomes a heart and soul of game balance. And I don't mean balance in the sense of together or can you bring a filthy, hard list or not, but more in the sense of, two players who are of the similar type. Yeah. Two players who come with similar expectations and similar lists, but their list may be kind of rock, paper, scissors with each other. Yeah. Will give you just enough choice and just enough challenge as far as how hard it is to score points that a little bit to suit your army's strengths so that it's not just, well, shoot, the only person at the game store I can play with or the only person in the tournament I got paired with this round. Even though we might have a great game with the type of people we are and the type of army we brought, there's no way to because the mission, it's kill points and you have, 5 units and I've got 20. Yeah. And I don't have a filthy list and you don't either, but there's just no way for me to win this mission. Yep. That's not fun for anyone.
Exactly.
That drove the decision points of it, which is to have, we have a secondary listing. You pick 3 of them that you think suits the game after seeing your opponent's list. Mm-hmm. And the objectives are the same way. Usually there's one objective that's scored at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. Objective that's scored by turn, but you can only chase one of them.
Yes.
And the final element is that each of those are capped, so you can't just run away with the game off of only one mission. You have to play all parts of the game.
Right. You have to, you're still trying to deny your opponent their mission as well. And you're making these interesting tactical decisions between, what resources do I have to keep alive to score my missions, and what resources do I have to sacrifice to deny my opponent's mission, or vice versa. So I think it's great for that.
You nailed it. And I played a game recently and I brought a very sneaky army. It didn't have almost any firepower. In a game where you hear a lot of 8th edition pundits saying it's all about alpha strikes and just killing units. But my opponent focused primarily on just trying to kill whatever units he could kill as quickly as he could. And by the end of the game, his army was in pretty good shape and my army was pretty beat up. But because of the mission choices I made and the way that I played the game, I had maxed my score very quickly by a point or two by the end. And that element, that combination of you can't score but so many for one. You can't really beat an objective. You either achieve it or you don't.
Yeah.
And the fact that we allow you to score during the game instead of only at the end is a big part to keeping the game more interesting from game to game, especially, frankly, and you made the point, there are narrative games or situations where you want to have a little more engagement than just put the models down and roll dice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, like just from a results perspective, my tournament with orcs, the last time I went to a Portal event, I had 3 battle points, and won 0 games. Yesterday I went and I scored 35 battle points and had 1-1. I went 1-1-1, and my win was against 3 Wraith Knights and what used to be a super heavy Eldar tank. So nice. I think that says not only something about 8th edition, but also about the missions. I'm like, yeah, I'll teleport my unit of 30 grots onto your objective and then save morale by spending 2 points. That's the thing. That's the thing I'll do all day. So yeah, Mike, I think this is going to be a really great event, both from a competitive perspective and from a narrative perspective. And if folks are interested in going and like you say, for the social aspect, there's so much to do there and so much hobby to do there. And like even some of the gaming, like if you just want to go and bring your Blood Bowl army, you can. Or army, your Blood Bowl team, you can.
Something I'll also point out as a teaser. Games Workshop is obviously coming in force this year, which is really cool. It's the first year that Games Workshop is formally attending the event and supporting it in every way. So we'll have 12 people from the GW staff there, including the head of the game design studio, the head of their marketing and community teams, Andy Smiley, who's also an author for Black Library.
Yeah, he's cool.
The designer Shadespire, the upcoming game, will be there. But what's really neat about it, mention like that with those folks there, you can play all games that you want to play. You can do the hobby stuff you want to do. But at night, you go up to the charity bar, and there's Andy Smiley and Pete Foley hanging out, and you can go have a beer with them and talk about, well, what inspired you guys to design XYZ about the game? Mm-hmm. It's something you don't really get many places. And it also applies to... There's a preview event on Wednesday night. I shouldn't forget to mention that. And Games Workshop has not even told us what it is, but they've hinted that it is a brand new game no one's ever heard of or said anything about or anything.
Wow. So like new, like not even like Battlefleet Gothic new?
No, I don't know. All I know is apparently the internet's never even hinted about it.
Okay.
So it's not like what the Titanic is they've hinted at rumor sites months ago.
Oh, I see.
But on Wednesday night it's free. There's only a few spots left.
Okay.
But it's going to be a world first viewing. No cameras allowed.
Nice. Oh God, I hope people listen, listeners. I know that most of you are of a higher caliber than some, but if I see a picture that you sent to Blood of Kittens on the internet, I don't know. I'm gonna personally block you from downloading our shows from now on.
Tasty from Blood of Kittens is not Nintendo, so you don't have to worry about that guy. But he's welcome to come. I'd love for him to come, but he doesn't know.
Okay. That's great.
So there's all kinds of cool stuff to do. Don't miss out on the opportunity. I would tell anyone to do more than just play games for a weekend, but to actually engage with people you normally would never get a chance to.
That's awesome. Mike, I have to make it down. I'm only like 4 hours away. I need to get down sometime before I die because the event.
Guest. You're 4 hours. I'm not sure why you wouldn't be there this year. We've got 5 days of your life. All you have to do is make it for 1 or 2.
I'm so back-ended. So book-ended. I have 2 things. I'm going to something the week before and the week after. I would get
free.
I would get.
That's what you're saying.
Stabbed. You're right. I have no. You're right. I have no excuse. I have no excuse whatsoever.
Everyone take lessons. You have no lives except for gaming.
I definitely need to make it some year because I just love everything that you guys are about. Everything you do is just steeped in, the community, and not only the community, like the global community too, with your charitable work. So, folks, please check it out. Mike, is there anything you'd like to maybe give us all the pertinent contact info again? And if there's anything else that we've missed that you wanted to bring up, go ahead and do it now.
Let's see if I can do it in less than 60 seconds, which is a hard challenge.
Okay, here we go. Challenge.
NovaOpen.com is pretty straightforward as our website.
Uh-huh.
With or without the www, I think is how it works these days.
Mm-hmm.
And you can contact us with direct questions at customerservice@novaopen.com. Pretty straightforward also. I receive those emails as well as our customer service team. So you'll get anyone you need to get by contacting us that way. Convention access passes have already gone up to their final price of $50. There's an early bird discount. There's very little room. The main hotel's been sold out for months, but there are hotels around that you can get. I would say if you're paying attention from a distance, check out novaopenfoundation.org and check out the charity raffles. Chance to make it, even if it's only for an evening or for a day. Come on out and say hi. Find me. You'll see me everywhere, running around the convention. Check out the 11.5-foot long to scale Star Destroyer in the X-Wing Hall.
Oh my God.
Workshop demo spaces in the 40K Hall. Check out the World First Look on whatever the heck it is on Wednesday night. Theater. I mean, there's just too much to do to miss out. So if you have a chance to make it to Washington, D.C. for Labor Day, the rates are good. The flights are cheap. We'd be happy to have you. Again, NovaOpen.com. And thanks you guys for having us on your show.
Awesome. No, we're happy to have you guys. Like I said, we love supporting the community. And if y'all want to send us another commercial, we'll do another one. And, next year, feel free to drop by any time.
Well, next year we'll see you at Nova too.
Awesome. See you then, Wendy. All right. See you later, Mike.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Hey, mofos. Are you looking for more Warhammer 40K video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarred Cast, Skared on YouTube.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
All right, welcome back. So, I have John here with me. Hi, John. Hello. And we were able to get the preview copies of the Chaos Space Marines Codex and the Grey Knights Codex, which was super nice of Games Workshop. Thank you, Games Workshop.
Thank you, Games Workshop.
Oh, yay. Okay, so we decided, we just got them yesterday, so there's no real studying going on. I thought the best way to do this, instead of poring over the Codex and yada, 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 I thought it was best if we just go ahead and play a game and kind of get to know it a little bit. So John made a Grey Knights list, and I made a Emperor's Children list. I played with so many unpainted models and proxies. It was unreal. John, why don't you go over the list you took?
Sure thing. I ran 100 power level Grey Knight list using, I put it together the other day using the Index Imperium 1 book. And I kind of checked it over, and it looked like it was about the same power level today. But it was Grandmaster Voldus, a Brotherhood champion. I took 4 troops, Terminator squad, 5 Terminators with a Psy Cannon, another Terminator squad, same deal with a Psy Cannon, 2 strike squads with 5 dudes each with a Psy Cannon. Each of those squads, the Sergeant or the Justicar, had a Demon Hammer. I then ran 3 heavy support choices. I had a Purgation squad with 4 Psy Cannons. You almost see a theme here. I built my army many years ago. And then I ran 2 Nemesis Dread Knights, each with a Great Sword, a Heavy Incinerator, and a Heavy Psy Cannon. And to round out the list, I took a Stormraven gunship with a twin multi-melta, a twin last cannon, and as we discovered halfway through the game, it has missiles. They miss a lot, though. Missiles miss a lot.
I was hoping it would like bounce and hit you in the nuts.
So that was another miss.
Okay, so are the Terminators still troops?
Yep, the Terminators, from what I saw, were still troops.
Nice.
And I was pretty appreciative of the fact that they have 2 wounds apiece.
Nah, that's
So
pretty sweet.
I was pretty happy with that.
That is pretty sweet. Okay, so what relic did you pick?
After consulting the brand new Codex today, I gave a Warlord trait to Voldus, where he was first to the fray to reroll failed charges for the Warlord and friendly units within 6, which I then promptly forgot to use.
Nice.
And
it's okay, you made all your charges.
Oh, not that one. I then ran Destroyer of Chryslax. I imagine that's how it's pronounced. It's basically a souped-up Demon Hammer on the Brotherhood champion. It is melee, strength 2, AP -3, damage 4.
He's the one that missed his charge.
Yeah, he was the one who
didn't
just
have the Warlord trait, so he never got to use his hammer.
He was pretty hammered.
Okay, so my list consisted of Lucius the Eternal, a sorcerer with a jump pack, and the Intoxicating Elixir, which gives you +1 attack and +1 strength. 5 units of 6 Noise Marines. Now, you let me take an additional Noise Marine in each squad, and I just paid once for the extra 5 guys.
Makes sense.
Yeah. A unit of 6 Chosen. Again, I just paid an extra one power level for the extra guy. A Land Raider, and 3 units of Warp Talons, each with an extra guy. I paid an extra 4 points for that. And that was a total of 100 power level. Lucius has his own Warlord trait. He generates an extra attack for every wound he's taken. Spoiler alert, that never happened.
Yeah, he kept asking, do you want to attack Lucius? No, I'm pretty certain that's not a thing that I ever want to do.
Yeah, Lucius still has an invuln save, and every time he passes one on a 4-up, he deals a mortal wound, or possibly more. I doubt it. That would be 1 mortal wound for every save there. So that's pretty good.
I'll be honest with you. I would never have thought a dude who's literally wearing a cape of other dudes and a mask of other dudes' faces would just be that cruel. Like I couldn't imagine that.
Super, like it was possible for him to have like 11 attacks, which is against the character, which is gross.
How nature says, stay away.
yeah, right. He's gonna be painted that way too. So we had a lot of fun in our game. We decided to try out the what's the cards called again? The Eternal? No.
The cards that I keep forgetting to pick up at the store?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the actual title.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we used those cards for our game, and that was super cool. We generated... I grabbed it over here. Stick with me, everybody. I'm going to grab the card that I want.
Whenever we have dead air going forward, I'll begin making puns.
Nope. So we drew... Open War. We drew Objective Drawn and Quartered. Players roll off, starting with the winner. Then they then take it in turns to set up 2 objective markers each anywhere more than 12 inches from the center, and more than 6 inches from a battlefield edge, and more than 18 inches from any other objective marker. It spreads out 4 objective markers away from the center.
And it pretty much just puts one in each quarter.
Which is really interesting because we also drew a deployment map where one player sets up in the center of the battlefield, within 12 inches of the center of the battlefield, and then the other player sets up in each kind of corner of the battlefield surrounding the center player. So it's weird. You know, you likened it to a kind of a pincer maneuver.
It was kind of like an ambush, I felt.
An ambush, but with the objectives on the outskirts. It actually more felt like I felt like it could have been more like you were holding the position and I like ended up in the middle. Nah, it actually sounds more like an ambush, but for some reason I have 4 objectives around me. Whatever. But it was really interesting because since it put those objectives near you and I had to go out and get them.
It almost felt like ambush, but you had to break out.
Yeah, and
you had to break out in different ways.
Yeah. So the twist we pulled was Dead of Night. Maximum range of all shooting and psychic powers was 12 inches.
What a twist.
But starting on turn 2, on a 4-up, we added 6 inches, 12 inches, and then 18 inches, which was really interesting.
Which it kind of worked out really well with like the whole ambush scenario thing too.
Because that would happen at night, right? So that worked out. That was pretty cool. So let's talk about the game. We're not going to go through the whole game, but I think we should talk about like the interesting things that worked with the army throughout the game. I felt like the Land Raider was a bit of a liability still, even with all the cool like stratagems you could use and whatever. It was a lot of points put into one thing. But I had that unit of Chosen in there with Lucius, and I guess I could put him in a Rhino, but they're really fragile.
I mean, I'll be honest, if Lucius had been somehow on his own feet with like a squad at the start of the game, that is where I would have deep struck everything to try to shoot him to death and then charge so I could get it before you.
Right.
Because Lucius is that much of a damage dealer. Like the Land Raider is always going to be a bit of a liability.
Yeah.
But we were even talking during the game, like that is still alive.
It was. It was. And the thing is, it's so big. It's such a big footprint that halfway through the game, I deployed Lucius. Within 9, basically, plus the movement, plus the deployment, he got to be within 9 inches of the Land Raider on one side, and the Chosen got out 9 inches on the other side, and they were both within charge range and wiped out their target. Like, Lucius murdered Voldus.
Or maybe Voldus deep struck back into orbit before he could become another face on what I'm assuming is a lovely loincloth.
Even if he had defeated me, he would have become Lucius. So, whatever.
I heard a rumor he is eternal.
He is. Yeah. So I thought, you're right. You're kind of right. I mean, it's kind of got to be in my list at this point anyways.
And I mean, you want to do that pretty sweet conversion with it.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
And we were talking, you got to put like a sound speaker in there. Just build a Bluetooth speaker into the top or throw like a phone on there.
Yes. Things that I thought were scary about your list, and you can, I don't think it ever really worked out great, but...
that is my tactical acronym right there.
Well, I mean, the ability to have Gate of Infinity with everyone is incredible.
Yeah, but throughout the game, I noticed very much that a lot of your units had a lot of exploding dice, a lot of reroll abilities, and we were both playing pretty elite armies.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I was looking at that, I'm like, man, I'm pretty tempted by Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Which is odd, but I'm like, at the same time, the Grey Knight's strength didn't come from rerolls and from exploding dice. It came from mobility.
Yeah.
Because that's what ultimately...
You had a lot of mobility with that. We were playing a narrative game, so you were able to teleport more than once per turn, which was nice.
Yeah.
But even if you can only do it once per turn, it's in matched play, it's still very, very good, I think. There were a few times where the go first with the Emperor's Children was amazing. So like even when you assaulted me, I was able to choose guys to go in order with you. That was extremely cool. And I mean, and when we were already locked in combat, that's pretty much how at least one unit of Terminators was killed.
And how the other Dread Knight was
one
killed.
of the Dread Knights was killed. You had 2 Dread Knights, and I think one of them, it was thanks to being able to go first in ongoing combat, and the other time it was thanks to the veterans of the Long War stratagem, where I got the +1 to wound is so much better than +1 strength.
Yeah,
because you go from wounding on 5s with strength 4 to wounding on 4s, and when you have the icon of excess, allowing you to get exploding hits, exploding attacks on 5s or 6s. Like, there was that one moment when you're like, I have a strike squad, I'm assaulting the guys in the middle, and you decided to go with another unit instead because clearly it was a more important go.
Well, I figured the guys in the middle with all the heavy weapons, I'm like,
and there's
that's
no
not
objective
the big
there
deal.
anyway, so
Yeah.
it wasn't that big a deal. So you killed off my Chosen, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to roll with my fist. I rolled 3 attacks. I rolled a 5 and a 6. I rolled to hit with the extra attacks. I rolled to hit with the extra attacks. Hit with those. Wounded all 5. All 5 of your strike squad died.
Yeah,
with 1 power fist.
And I looked at you and I apologized for assaulting you. Obviously, that upset the sergeant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was really pissed off about that.
The hand was strong there. And many Grey Knights were removed.
Yeah, that was gross. The Veterans of the Long War, the Death of the False Emperor ability, especially with the Icon of Excess, is gross. 10 points, buy it.
I'll hand it to you. That's a good ability.
I'm running out of things to throw.
Yeah. Getting to
really
getting
everything
hobby
can
knives.
hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that Icon of Excess, man, I'm putting it on every unit. It's only 10 points. I mean, in power level, I mean, it's obvious, but I think I was running low on power level anyways.
I'll be honest, Icon of Excess, I mean, you got to throw it on everything. It's in the title.
Yes, it's literally in the title. So we talked about the Gate of Infinity. It was really good. One thing I learned, the chaos, what's that ability? The psychic power. So I had my sorcerer on a jump pack, and he was with the warp talons. Warp time, it never went off. I forgot, but I rolled 12s to assault, so whatever. The warp talons ability to force you to ignore Overwatch, pretty cool. But be careful with your independent characters going into Dread Knights.
Yeah,
I should not have assaulted you with my. I thought for sure I'd kill you, but no. Warp Talons are okay, but they're not super duper great.
No, and once I was able to activate the Dread Knight, I kind of just went against the Sorcerer. I'm like, all right, he's got to go now.
I should have had 1 extra guy in each of those squads. Six Warp Talons each. Oops. Whatever.
I would have banished them anyway.
Yeah, banishment worked pretty well. You killed a bunch of guys. But I did end up with like single model units of Warp Talons left, which was really nice because I could just jump out of combat and just fly 12 inches in a random direction and get on objectives to kind of... Oh, the objectives were progressive, by the way. You scored 1 point per turn for each one you were holding. And that was really cool. Their leadership is fairly good. And you couldn't reroll a leadership to save your life in this game with that for some reason.
No, my dice, like the game looked turned to like I was gonna run away with it. Like top of 2, like Stormraven was doing work against a Land Raider. Everything was still in. Looked like I had a good ambush position, and then Lucius the Eternal had a field day and a couple other guys, and just started cleaning up units.
Very nice. So yeah, what do you think of the book? I mean, I've been looking through this thing, and the The relics all seem very thematic. I'm very excited about them. The fact that you do have the stratagems for adding more relics. Pat was talking about how they you have character champions now, kind of like the lieutenants from the Space Marines Codex. That's pretty sweet for the chaos. Seems to be a little something for everyone except for the Thousand Suns and the Death Guard. You're actually not allowed to take anything with those keywords using Chaos Space Marines. So if you have a pure Death Guard army or a pure Thousand Suns army, you probably don't want to buy this book. I don't think. You want to wait for your codex to come out, which I think is coming soon.
Or you can pick the book up, run a couple things, and then when your book comes out, you have that too.
I don't know. I think that's kind of what the index is for.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy this book. If you're playing Thousand Suns or if you're playing Death Guard, I wouldn't buy this book.
I mean, I'll say this. I didn't get a good chance to really look at the Chaos book. But I mean, it's a beautiful book. I mean, it's standard Games Workshop, high quality. Yeah. It looked like it had some new artwork throughout the book as well. Mm-hmm. I haven't really been looking at any of the rumors for Chaos books, but it stuck out in my mind as reminded me a lot of that old 3rd edition book and just like the layout and just kind of how the book felt.
I like how everything is we're going towards everything as a choice. For example, the Chaos Boon Table is a stratagem that you use. Mm-hmm. So it's 1 command point to roll on the Chaos Boon Table. And the most common result, 7, is you actually just choose whatever boon you want, except for Demonhood or Spawndom. Like, you can still use a command point reroll on that if you want to. That's really cool. Veterans of the Long War was a great stratagem for me.
So it's pretty good.
It worked really well. The +1 to wound rolls is so good. I didn't really use very much in the way of vehicles, so I'm pretty sure a lot of those are a lot of fun, but there are a few things. I think we had a similar stratagem. Neither of us used it, but I have one called Demon Shell. For 1 command point, you load this demonic bolt shell into your bolter or bolt pistol, and it does D3 mortal wounds if you shoot the target. Or if you miss, it does D3 mortal wounds to you.
It's now, one heck of a
you
mess.
have one that lets you load Cybolt ammunition.
Yeah, so one of the things that I kind of missed in the last codex that came out for 6th and 7th, 6th and 7th, was lack of Cybolt ammunition, because that was something I really liked using in 5th, because I was one of those jerks. But, I'm just going to play what it is. But you can now use a command point where I think it's like 1, you pop it on like a Storm Raven, let's say, with all the heavy bolters, or the Land Raider Crusader, and it +1's the strength and -1's the rend of whatever you're shooting. So you kind of get that, but you got to use that command point for it.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I mean, when we were looking at the command traits for Grey Knights, it felt like it mitigates that you're running an elite army feel. Because with such an elite army, every one you feel twice as much as, like, if you're playing Orcs or Guard, you're like, wow, I rolled 5 1s. Oh, well, 5 conscripts are down. That's sad.
Yeah.
Here you roll 5 1s. That's a big chunk of your army.
Yeah.
And it was pretty neat to me where it almost seems like they understood that, and there's ways to temporarily buff your units or mitigate those bad
if you
turns.
really need something, you can blow your command points to make it happen. I think one of the pivotal moments in our game was when my sorcerer flew up and he's like, okay, we failed the warp time. I did get the
Smite.
Feel no pain off, but like, you know what, I'm going to use the great sorcerer stratagem for 1 command point to go ahead and use another psychic power. And I cast Smite on the Dread Knight. I rolled an 11 on my warp charge, and I said, okay. I rolled a d6, rolled a 2. I'm like, you know what, command point reroll, and then I rolled a 6.
That was pretty good.
You create those clutch moments, and that was a lot of fun. That was really great. So, it's that kind of thing that it's all about player choice, and it's continuing in the codexes. You can see where the strategy, the Games Workshop strategy, is continuing as we go forward. I mean, look at there's a bunch of stuff for both Black Legion and Traitor Legions, or sorry, not Traitor Legions. There's something for everyone in here, of course, except for Death Guard and
because you're not people.
Yeah, you aren't people. No, those codexes are coming out soon. I'm really impressed. I'm really happy with it. So I really think you should go out and pick it up.
There's neat color plates in there too. I didn't even see that before.
It's really pretty. It's really nice. It's everything that you wanted.
Plus more.
And that was just playing
Icon
one
of
army.
Excess.
That was just one army, right? Imagine what the rest of it's like. There's been some great rumblings with the Khorne Berserkers, which really needed to be awesome. And
have people gone berserk over them?
All right, I think it's time to end this segment. Anyways, at the end of the game, it was John had won by 1 point. But I feel there were no. What I don't like about there's no secondary objectives in these open war decks.
I mean, you can always add them in.
Because I killed your warlord.
Yep.
And stuff, but you still won fair and square. But I really think they need the secondary objectives.
I mean, I'll say this again, like. It felt like your army had a lot of buffs to it where you could do a lot of extra damage, and we were actually joking like half the stuff you killed was through buffs.
A lot of the stuff that was killed was because you killed my guys.
Yeah.
I don't think the Noise Marines are worth it without the ability to shoot after they die.
No, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Oh yeah, they die with a song in their hearts.
Yeah. they make you note it. They forced the foes to tremble before them.
No, there were a few times when like a sergeant died and
and you kill. That's how you got one.
They just shoot the sound flamer.
You got like 3 wounds off a dread knight like that. You're like, I think he'll just kill you back.
Yeah, the Doom Siren. Like I did more wounds against the Storm Raven with the Doom Siren than any other weapon.
Yeah,
it's great.
I mean, I'll say this because I haven't. Again, I don't know the Chaos stuff as much, but like Grey Knights, I've been playing Grey Knights since 3rd edition. Back like half my army's metal with fantasy bits thrown in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this just giving a cursory glance is my favorite codex that I've seen so far from them since 3rd.
Oh, good. Because I would love to see more of your Grey Knights because they're gorgeous.
And it's funny because we were talking like why I shelved them, and it was because I wasn't having fun with them in 6th and 7th, and my opponents weren't having fun with them because the psychic phase was so bogged down. Yeah. But I mean, even with us not really knowing the rules for these two armies, we got a game done pretty quick.
Oh yeah, super quick. I can't wait to once again hump your rhinos with my battle wagons.
You know, you keep saying, like, every time I see you, like, that's how you start a conversation, which is getting a little odd, especially at picnics and family outings.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we're gonna have some messages, and we'll be right back.
I just want to invite you to Frayed Paintbrush Hobby Progress Facebook group. It is a positive group set up to motivate us to hobby and then share it with all the other members. At the beginning of the month, post up your monthly challenge on the page, and then at the end of the month, you post the completed work for all to see. No pressure, just fun among friends. Once again, that's Frayed, F-R-A-Y-E-D, Paintbrush. Hope to see you there.
Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't. So, Jason, I have a little note here that I think you know what you're getting into when the Legion you choose has an ironic battle cry.
Yeah.
Like, I've looked at a lot of these Emperor's Children have top knots. They got the top knot going. They're very like, for the Emperor.
Yeah. This has always been the Legion that's always kind of, I don't know. It's always left me not scratching my head, but thinking, okay, these guys are a bit much. But then again, that's their entire thing is we will take this farther than anybody else. So.
Yeah, right? Like these guys are the epitome of every meme that my other political side friends on Facebook post on Facebook.
Yeah.
Triggered!
Well, there's the... I've read Fulgrim, which I think that was Graham McNeil also. And I hated that book. It was it was well written, but when you read a book and you're always trying to put yourself in the eyes of the characters or whatever. And with that book, I was just like, can we just kill them all? It just
you didn't feel sympathetic towards any of the Emperor's Children characters.
No, it was very difficult. Maybe the Remembrancers, they were interesting, and only a couple of them. It was just
right. That
entire story, the entire book was just a tragedy built on a tragedy built on a tragedy. It was just.
Was it hard for you? Did that make it even harder for you, considering you're a musician and artist and stuff? So seeing them portrayed in that light, did that make it even harder for you to enjoy the book?
Well, I think the other issue is I've worked with a lot of artists, both visual as well as music, and I've seen people kind of walk down these roads. Where it's just like, oh, I've got to do more. I've got to make this more. And I even see it in my students sometimes. And I have to explain to them, no, dude, you don't want to walk down that road. Not everybody comes back.
Yeah.
And so I think that might have been... I think you're correct. I think that might have been more difficult for me just because of what I have seen, happen. So, yeah.
Right. And for me, I get it. Because I sometimes ingest some of this stuff and I'm like, what were you even thinking?
Yeah.
I can understand the desire to create something with discord in mind.
Yeah.
And to really go over the edge for your own purposes.
Yeah.
And to explore things, but don't expect everyone to sup on that and think, that was a yummy dish.
Yeah. Well, one of the scenes, what was it? One of the artists in Fulgrim, the Remembrancers, was actually painting with human feces, which that happens.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in all the psychiatric hospitals, or if you're at a G.G. Allen show. And whenever I read that...
Well, it's also something people do as a statement.
Yeah.
They've done it with images of Christ and of Allah. And, all that. Sorry, not Allah. You know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Those guys.
It's been all of those things. When I read it, I just had been at a... What is it, like an artist colony. I'd been hanging out there and doing some work, and... I'd worked with someone who was actually making jewelry out of human wastes. Yeah, not all feces. And so I was just remember as I'm reading this book and I'm talking to these people, I'm like, okay, all right, fine, whatever. But anyways, that's that. We're on to the Emperor's Children, who
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I think we were kind of doing some wrap up discussion at the beginning, but that's fine. But hey, everybody kind of knows what they're getting into at this point.
Oh yeah,
now,
sorry.
There are a lot of episodes of other podcasts who deal with like all of these stories beginning to end. I mean, there are some great Horus Heresy podcasts out there. What's Greg Dan's episode?
There's After
show?
Olenor, which is with Dave.
After Olenor.
And then there's The Imperial
Dave,
Truth, where it's his own deal. Without
right.
Dave.
So if you want to hear about we're going to touch on a lot of those stories here. So if you want to hear about those stories in depth, go ahead and listen to those episodes of those podcasts or read the book yourselves. Yeah. I am not reading the Horus Heresy. I'm glad you are, because that will give us a lot more detail, a lot more insight into a lot of this lore. So let's start off the way we did with the Iron Whatevers, with the founding of the Legion.
Oh yeah, okay.
The third was formed later on in the Unification Wars, very much unlike the Iron Warriors. They came around after the fact, and they were put together from almost exclusively noble stock, because there was this tradition that started on Europa, with the nobility of that world offering their finest as tribute to the conquering emperor and his legions. Families throughout the Terran system started to follow suit, and it became a thing, really.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see how that shaped the Legion as it progressed.
Yeah. And then the third was then utilized in a support role throughout the later portions of the Unification Wars. Although many surviving Imperial histories make little mention of them, these Astartes were instrumental in interpreting the will of the Emperor and devising winning strategies across several theaters of battle. That's pretty interesting.
Right.
You know?
So this is very interesting. This is an interesting bookend, as we'll see going forward. I love that these guys are very much they remind me of the mentors a little bit. They're the pre-heresy and heresy mentors, where they're kind of these commanders, and they act very much like nobility did in medieval times. They were more the leaders of men, and the gene stock that they're bred from kind of belies that ability because of their nobility. They served with great distinction throughout the Crusade. Like, they're instrumental in a great many victories, utilizing Imperial troops. For example, the most notable event was their defense of the Emperor during the Proximan Revolt, which if that system means anything, then that means it's a very nearby system. Yeah. Proxima Centauri is the closest star, at least for now. There's a lot of movement going on over there. Anyways, the entire 16th cohort of the Emperor's Children was slaughtered to a man.
Wow!
In order to give the Emperor, who was wounded by a vortex weapon, time to recover and turn the tide of battle. For their service, the newly dubbed Emperor's Children were given the right to bear the Palatine Aquila, which was the Emperor's personal standard. And then they were given the right to call down the Exterminatus on Proxima.
Wow.
Like, oh, thanks, boss. Thanks, Dad. Thanks. Now, the Emperor at this point didn't...
Man. Wow.
Yeah. Now, I don't think at this point they weren't officially the Emperor's Children, but that's what they started to be called. They started to be called.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good name for them if they've gone through and sacrificed so much for him. Mm-hmm. The Emperor's Children continued to work in a support role throughout the Great Crusade. They bore the Emperor's standard and wore the livery of the Imperium. Wherever they went, they spoke with the voice of the Emperor. Not only were they well suited for this task, but a series of calamities made it a necessity. Much of their gene seed was lost in transit, although it's unsure whether it was by accident or foul play. Then a terrible blight bloomed in the Astartes gene vaults on Terra, all but wiping out stocks of the Emperor's children gene seed. I had not read that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, very interesting. Like they were down to like 200 warriors.
Really? Okay, so it's
and the records of that gene seed crisis are very vague. They aren't sure whether the ship ferrying the gene seed was destroyed, stolen, or just disappeared.
That is interesting if they're down to that, because they also had this sort of, it's an issue similar to that with the Thousand Sons. It's kind of amazing how some of these legions have, are supposed to be these really large legions, and all of a sudden, through whatever, they've dropped down to these very small numbers throughout the Crusade, as well as through the Horus Heresy. That's interesting.
Yeah, it gives it makes it a good story for when the Primarch returns, and turns things around. And I think that's a common theme. Like, these legions are great, but the Primarchs are necessary for them to be strong. And and that kind of shows why the coming of Guilliman now is so important. But when Fulgrim returned, he was found on the world of Chemos. It's a very cold and unforgiving mining world, and it was running very low on resources at the time. Due to the proximity of some warp storms and how harsh the long night had been for them, they were really low on resources. So they had to toil endlessly just to barely survive. I mean, their days were pretty much numbered. But when Fulgrim came of age, he was able to turn things around. His intuition and intelligence, just like any other Primarch, like, it's not like everyone does have their specialty. The Iron Hands and the Iron Warriors and Vulcan, the Primarchs of all those legions, they were specialized in mechanical and crafting, but you're still a Primarch.
Yeah.
You're still super intelligent. So he was able to innovate their mining operations to the point where this world that was barely clinging to life eventually, in a few short years, was starting to have enough free time to enjoy the arts and to just relax. Right? Like, so imagine that. Imagine a world that was basically a mine shaft being turned into a world of great artistic and leisurely endeavors.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? It's amazing. Yeah. And then they were able to just sell their surplus materials to passing merchants and stuff like that. So he did all of that.
Yeah.
By his very existence.
It's impressive, and it's really rather entertaining. Like when you start reading the origin stories of the various Primarchs, that they all have some sort of big, what's the word I'm looking for, impact on the worlds where they were stranded. Like Korax basically overthrew everything. The Lion, So it's that's rather entertaining. That's a lot of fun. It's cool to see that sort of thing happen. All right.
Yeah, it also is part of the problematic tendencies of the 40K lore. Because, I mean, Ubermensch! Ubermensch! What? All right.
Exactly.
You were saying?
Exactly.
You were saying?
So, when the Emperor showed up, Fulgrim immediately bent his knee in his loyalty. He was dismayed to find out his legion had been reduced to just 200 warriors. However, he was impressed with the resolve, and rather than giving into despair, he decided to mark this moment as just a beginning. When the Emperor heard this, he officially ratified the 3rd Legion as the Emperor's children. Fulgrim took this to heart and began his quest for perfecting himself and his legion to make them worthy of that great honor. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a very different path that he took from, I would say, Iron Hands.
Yeah.
Which was kind of rough.
Yeah.
So, it seems positive. It seems like a positive thing, but things get corrupted pretty easily in the 40k lore.
Well, that and it's Fulgrim who...
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the early years, Fulgrim was put under the tutelage of Horus and the Luna Wolves. The two legions really worked well together because Horus and Fulgrim were like peas and carrots, or maybe not peas and carrots, steak and potatoes.
Okay.
Horus had a quick wit, and his legion had a very direct and uncompromising style of warfare. While Fulgrim had a lot of patience, keen tactical acumen, or more, I would say more a keen strategic acumen, and his legion was a lot more subtle. So they were able to work together as almost a combined arms force.
Interesting.
Rather than separate legions. So I thought that was really cool.
So I have a question. Did it mention when Fulgrim found before or after Corax? Do you remember?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Because the lore on the Raven Guard is that Horus did not treat them as a separate legion. He just kind of treated them as his stealth buddies. Like he treated them as special forces. Like he didn't send them in unless it's a very specific thing.
Kind of like a reserve company.
Yeah.
Of Space Marines, where you'll spread that company around other companies to add a specialization or for a special role for a specific mission.
That's essentially what he was treating them as. And there's some interesting stories about, because it was all the Terran Raven Guard, and they were so bloodthirsty because they had been with Horus that whenever Corax was found, he just kind of looked at them and banished them. It's like, here, you get onto some ships and you go fly away, and that's basically how we have space sharks now.
When it comes to Fulgrim, though, when it comes to the Emperor's Children, it was only for a short period of time. It was like about a decade that they operated in that capacity. After that, they split up, but they forged a bond that would last, well, clearly
a long time
into the heresy. So yeah, that was very, and that's where the Emperor's Children started learning from other legions, and they kind of started their path towards perfection by emulation.
Got it.
And that'll be a hallmark of their kind of idiom going forward.
All right, so the path to heresy. The Gene Seed Crisis and the mentality which followed did much to seal the fate of the Emperor's Children. Their quest for perfection began to consume them. If it were merely for the purpose of self-improvement, it had been one thing. However, when other legions excelled, the Emperor's Children were overcome with jealousy. Green-eyed monster. When the Emperor's Children eventually did surpass their brothers in a certain aspect, their jealousy transformed not just into vanity, but contempt for those who did not share their level of aptitude. The Emperor's Children not only felt they had to be better, but they deserved to be better because in their eyes they were better. Yeah, that sort of arrogance, man, it's all over Fulgrim, man. I mean the novel, and every time they show up, it's just like, they're the guys that you don't want to work with at the office,
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah. It's pretty bad, and what's worse is that quest for perfection didn't stop at tactics and skill. It also went on to kind of physical matters, and Fabius, the Emperor's Children apothecary, started investigating the genetic gifts of the lair species, which plays a huge part in the evolution of the Emperor's Children, or I guess the devolution of the Emperor's Children.
Yeah.
With Fulgrim's approval, Fabius began experimenting with these methods on their own Astartes, and I think this is where several of the named characters from the Horus Heresy era kind of had their big problems.
Yeah.
Because they allowed themselves to be modified by Fabius. But unfortunately, for and unbeknownst to them, the lair had become the thralls of Slaanesh.
You know, we could sit here and rip on Fabius Bile for a good long time. Man, what a horrible character, but a well written horrible character. Like, you read him, just like, wow, this is like really cool. This is like the uber villain, but he's not twirling mustaches. Anyways, so in the final battles against the Lair, the Emperor's Children fought a fanatical group of the Serpentine creatures who were defending a powerful Slaaneshi artifact. Fulgrim claimed this beautiful blade for his very own. Sadly, it was bound with the spirit of a greater demon of Slaanesh. Now, who didn't see that coming?
Wah, wah, wah.
Okay, hands up. Who's surprised?
So,
I didn't think so. Okay.
So, we have to pause here and discuss something that has been discussed many times.
Yeah.
And we won't spend too much time on it, but okay. Had the Emperor warned his sons of the existence of chaos, this probably would not have happened. Yeah. Or at least there was a chance this crap would not have happened.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing goes for Horus's story, I think. Now, here's my thing. That hypothesis is predicated on the premise that avoiding that situation was something the Emperor was keen to avoid.
Yeah.
Chew on that.
Yeah. Yep.
Just saying, Emperor's Chaos God. All right, moving on.
He is Warp God. Oh, spoilers.
Well, actually, there is a little bit of a problem with that logic, because if he were, then why would he be giving up his power, a powerful ally of his, to Slaanesh? So maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of flaws in that hypothesis. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Like, why? You should have seen this coming, right? But I guess hindsight is 20/20.
That is true. That is true.
Then we have a couple of situations. We forgot to mention, the scene between Fulgrim and Ferrus Manus. Them kind of competing against each other in the creation of awesome artifacts.
Yeah.
They're very good friends at that point. And also, the point, going towards the Horus Heresy, when Fulgrim feels insulted by being saved by Ferrus Manus on one occasion.
Yeah.
And how Fulgrim is starting to feel slighted whenever somebody saves him or is better than him at something. Basically acting like a petulant child.
Yep, that's...
which is funny. I was just talking to a friend, actually a family member, yesterday, or this morning. No, it was this morning. I was in the hot tub after my workout, and he's like, "What do I say to a best? Should I say anything to a best man when he refuses to go along with anything the group wants to do?" And I'm like, because apparently they had come up with, this really good idea of getting an Airbnb instead of renting a penthouse for 5 times as much. And we're talking about people with childlike mentalities who get all huffy when someone else is better than them or has a better idea than them, and they're unwilling to admit it. That's a sign of adulthood when you're willing to accept that you are wrong.
Yeah.
And once again, we prove that these Primarchs are very extreme examples of human behavior, and therefore very childlike in much of the way they act.
That is very true. That is very true.
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
that's my pontificating.
Well, I mean, you see it whenever you look at, or if you read some of the stories. I mean, a lot of the Primarchs come across as children. You know, they have very childlike qualities, even though they're, you know, overthrowing governments. They're rebuilding worlds in their own image or whatever, but you know, they still have that very childlike mentality. All right.
Right.
On to the Horus Heresy. Okay, so Eldrad, remember Eldrad? He's here. He tried and failed to warn Fulgrim of Horus having been corrupted by the ruinous powers. Fulgrim was appalled by this, and goaded by the spirit in his possessed blade, attacked the Eldar host. I don't know if I can argue with that, but we'll keep going. The bloody battle saw the end of many Eldar, and all of Fulgrim's Palatine blades. Fulgrim didn't stop there. In retribution, he carried out exterminatus on several Eldar maiden worlds. Because...
Yep, once again, Eldrad done booped up.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, for an Eldar seer, he sure doesn't see much, or at least well.
Was this in the Fulgrim novel?
This is very familiar. I think so. I've read so many... I've read most of the Horus Heresy series now. There's probably about 6 or 7 books I haven't read. But this seems very familiar.
Right. Fart. Horus eventually convinced Fulgrim, with the help of the monkey on Fulgrim's back. I'm not restarting, of course.
Good.
That the Emperor... Okay. Horus eventually convinced Fulgrim, and, you know, Horus had the help of the monkey on Fulgrim's back.
Yeah.
Of course, that the Emperor had been denying him the perfection he craved all this time. And he's a silver-tongued devil, that Horus, but I think that's his idiom.
Yeah.
Right? That's his thing. And the only way to attain this desire was through the Chaos Gods. So their pact against the Imperium was sealed with a gift. Horus gave the Nurgle tainted blade, which had corrupted him, to Fulgrim. So, spreading it around, spreading the love. Don't spread your butter with that knife, though, because it'll be poop butter. And this is where we get that story that we heard about in the last episode of Fulgrim confronting Ferrus Manus and fails to kill Ferrus Manus. He can't kill him. There's still some part of him that still loves his brother.
Yeah.
And can't kill him.
Yeah, and that...
he has no problem murdering half of Ferrus Manus's best troops and a bunch of his allies, but before leaving. But whatever.
And I think even when they got to Istvan, that Fulgrim was not wanting to do that. That's his
Achilles heel.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the things that kind of pushed... I think that was kind of where Fulgrim finally fell, you know, to Chaos. Like,
oh, yeah. For sure.
Was that. So anyways, the moment came when the corruption of Slaanesh made itself blatantly known, and boy was it blatant. That was an incredible scene. During a performance aboard Fulgrim's command ship, Pride the Emperor, the lauded composer, Bekwa Kniska, performed her magnum opus. This terrible and ingenious masterpiece summoned the power of Slaanesh into the hall and corrupted all who dared heed the music's call. The instruments that she had devised in order to create the sounds she needed for her ritualistic masterpiece soon became weapons in the war against the Imperium, and many of the Astartes in the audience became the first noise marines, the cacophony. Yeah, that scene in Fulgrim is kind of incredible. Like, that's... When that scene starts, the rest of the book basically is that, and then, you know, kind of the aftermath of that. And that's
it's the off the rails.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I heard I heard about the kind of the parade that the Emperor's Children give for the other Chaos Legions when they show up.
Yeah.
They're just like everybody's kind of broken, and like all the other Chaos guys are like, wait a minute.
Oh,
what did we sign up for? Because these guys are going all in.
Yeah. In Angel Exterminatus, because, the Emperor's Children have continued to devolve, continue to become more degenerates, that Pertuabo is just, he and his entire legion are, the Emperor's Children land on the planet, and they have this parade of just kind of oddities and misfit toys, for lack of a better term. And you can actually, as you're reading it, you can tell the Iron Warriors are freaked out. Like, what is this?
Yeah, it's pretty insane, and I think that sets up the whole reason why Fulgrim finally ascends. Yeah. It's not the decapitation of his brother.
Yeah.
That's not enough for the Chaos Gods, right? But we'll get into that later. So yeah, as you say, they're getting more and more depraved as they go. Apothecary Fabius does not help.
No.
Well, he helps with that process for sure, but he's not helping anyone else.
No.
And pretty much everybody falls. Like it gets pretty bad, and not everybody actually. Yeah. Not everyone, right?
Yeah, there are a few that managed to get away, that managed to become part of the Shattered Legions, or they just got away and became, Black Shields or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, not all the Emperor's Children fell to chaos. There are great tales that have been told of many individuals and even entire companies or chapters within the Traitor Legions who remained loyal to the Imperium. Sadly, most of these brave souls were culled by Horus and their own brothers in the early days of the Istvan atrocities. Yeah, that if you read the first,
and I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in those books, in the books that you've read recently, right?
Yeah, book 3. I can't remember the name of that book. That's basically is big time on Istvan, and just people are getting slaughtered. They're only sending down. Those feature like that. One of the big characters is Garo, right?
Yeah,
the Death Guard,
Death Company guy or Death Guard guy. Yeah,
yeah. He's book 4 is dedicated to him, but he's Death Guard, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fulgrim then confronted Ferrus Manus for the last time, chopped his head off. But in the end, it was the blade itself under that controlled his hand to decapitate his brother. And he is kind of overcome by the sorrow of what he's done. And he locks himself away in this kind of microcosm, and the demon invades his body and takes control. The demon does eventually swear his allegiance to Horus. Well, its allegiance to Horus, but that guys did not fool everyone. Lorgar least of all. So I like this story, and I'm a little upset about. Everything's a little confusing. There's some Deus Ex Machina that goes on later, and I don't understand why. It's frustrating because that's a great story. That's a great. I wonder if someone was upset that there was a human aspect to what happens here. Mm-hmm. And I guess later on, Fulgrim's like, oh, well, lol, just kidding. I locked myself away for some other dumb reason, and I guess then I was able to defeat the demon inside me, and I took control and locked him away instead, and I didn't have any of those feelings about killing my brother. I'm a super evil bad guy, brah. So... am I off base there, or is that how it feels to you?
it's hard to kind of explain my whole thoughts. Like, first of all, he'd fallen to chaos after he killed Ferrus Manus. And, he had the demon sword, and there's all sorts of stuff going on, but it took him a while to ascend to full demonhood. That demon prince,
Yeah.
I'm a serpent now. And that shows up at the end of Angel Exterminatus. One of the things we talked about in the last episode was, Pertuabo had to kill, Fulgrim at the end of the book of Angel Exterminatus. But as I finished reading it, it's like it's a little more complicated than that. Fulgrim was trying to steal Pertuabo's, like, soul? Spirit?
Like a stone.
Yeah, he basically takes a stone and he gives it Pertuabo, and it basically just takes away all of his energy. And I think Fulgrim was going to sacrifice him. But whenever Pertuabo actually killed him, that was something that was able to push him into demonhood. It was going to happen one way or the other.
I think it was more the corruption of Perturabo that made the Chaos Gods smile.
Yeah.
Than any of Fulgrim's actual, like, physical actions.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
It's just my thought. I need to read. I haven't read the book, so I can't say. But from the anecdotal evidence, that's what it feels like to me. You don't. I feel like you don't need this pseudoscience stuff, like trapping his essence in a stone, whatever. Like, that seems like a red herring in the story, and it's more of his ability to corrupt others. Yeah, is the thing.
Well, it does.
I'm still kind of pissed off. I'm still kind of pissed off about the whole reversal. The reversal of intent behind Fulgrim's retreat from himself.
Well,
I felt like that was a really good story.
Really, my favorite part of the whole Angel Exterminatus, and it wasn't even like a big part. It was just that Lucius is killed. That this Raven Guard guy, Shuriken, actually stabs him in both hearts with his swords, but he doesn't get turned into Lucius. Because he just saw it as putting down a rabid dog. Just like, this is what I do. I'm not happy about it. It just needs to be done. Let me go chop off someone else's head. And that's kind of the way that character works. So, because I do like modeling characters, I did a Kit Bash. Yeah. So.
I wonder, the Slaanesh uses that a lot, like the one time that Guilliman almost was corrupted by that similar tactic of feeling glory at his actions.
Oh yeah, the Dark Imperium.
So I love that. I love that about Slaanesh. I love that it's not just pornography and kind of perfection. It's all these other things that corrupt the soul. So that's really cool. Those are the most fun parts.
Yeah, that makes them interesting.
So during the days of the scouring were pretty rough for the Emperor's Children, and this is what I was talking about earlier with bookending the story of the Emperor's Children, because there was a lot of infighting between the Chaos Legions within the Eye of Terror post-heresy. And, I mean, there still is a lot of infighting going on, but it was catastrophic at the time of the Scouring. The Emperor's Children were hungry for new and exciting perversions, and they just preyed upon all the other legions just to sate their brutal whims in a conflict known as the Slave Wars. The other legions, led by Abaddon, crushed the Emperor's Children's power base and laid them low. Even the ministrations of Fabius Bile were not enough to keep Abaddon from claiming the mantle of War Master. There was this whole story of Fabius Bile creating a new Horus out of the body of the old Horus.
Yeah.
I think proving that there's something more to the Primarchs than their personhood. I think there's than their physical being. I think there was a little something of the Emperor's soul in each one of those. I bet.
Yeah.
An aspect of him that was transferred to those Primarchs. And that's why they're so powerful, and that's why their sons are so tied to them through over time and space. Like we see again and again these legions having such a kinship with their Primarchs that they form these tactics and doctrines even without knowing their fathers.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that. This is just some more evidence that makes that more true. Fulgrim did enjoy a brief moment of pleasure, though, in an event that we discussed when we discussed Dark Imperium, when he mortally wounded Rabute Guilliman in a duel.
Yep.
And that was, just sliced his neck open, blood everywhere.
Which happens.
Good days.
Yeah.
Good times.
Bad shaving
Good
accident.
times for Fulgrim. Yeah, super bad shaving accident.
All right, so after this we get to the Age of the Imperium. So after their incredible losses during the Scouring, the Emperor's children are now a rare sight in the galaxy. Their current disposition is much as it was before the coming of Fulgrim. The Legion is scattered and rely a great deal upon their cunning, wit, and exemplary skill to survive. Perhaps even more than even the Death Guard, the Emperor's children have undergone incredible and horrific physical alterations in their unending and unfulfilled quest for perfection. Many of them are now monstrous and barely shadows of their former humanity who still remain. Yeah, Noise Marines are...
They're very much the way they were at the start of their kind of legionhood.
Yeah.
Where they lead these larger bands of just basic humans.
Yeah.
And other scattered war bands.
Yeah.
They're part of a greater whole, and they're the ones they kind of call the shots. They use their tactical ability or their strategic abilities to gain the upper hand, and they only kind of involve themselves when, after a lot of their plans have already come to fruition.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, I read The Talon of Horus when it came out a few years ago. And this next week, the Black Legion, which is a sequel from ADB, is being released. So I'm wondering if there'll be any of the Emperor's children in that book. But I think that releases either tomorrow or very late tonight. So I will be reading it for our next episode, even though we won't be talking about it. But I'll chat about it. And I'll drop spoilers for people so they'll hate my guts.
Well, I mean, we're gonna wanna discuss some of the things we talked about last week because in the on your tabletop section, because we had some rules for Iron Warriors come out.
Yeah.
We're gonna touch on that and see how close we were in our kind of thoughts on those.
Yeah.
So, getting close to closing out the in the lore section here, the Emperor's children who remain are very much compelled through life by their desires. Yeah. Their senses are so deadened by their constant, 10,000 years of constant sensory overload has made them so dead to just common emotion and common physical interaction that they have to double down every time they go for an experience. They collect armies of slaves who are damned to a lifetime of debasement and agony. The Astartes themselves have taken to seeing their own hatred and misery. And this is like my favorite part, right? Like, it's not just the physical attunements, the physical adjustments to give them the ability to feel more and greater, but they actually embrace their misery at what has happened to their legion and use that as another way of feeling emotion.
Yep. They're dead inside.
So imagine like those those kids who murdered their parents. You know, back in the day, what is it, the
80s.
The two brothers.
Yeah.
Like, imagine those two guys like having a blog about it. You know, like and making money off it. Like, imagine something like that where they are just like, oh yeah, you know what's really horrible? This thing that happened. I'm gonna bask in that and use that as part of my identity.
Yeah. Gross.
I know this was terrible. but I'm gonna super enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through and take a video on. Well, Vine doesn't exist anymore, so oops. Okay, so it is said that Fulgrim has ensconced himself in some hidden demon world, but the reemergence of Guilliman has enraged the demon Primarch. Unlike the rest of his contemporaries, he has no interest in turning Guilliman to the side of the ruinous powers. He has vowed to find and slay his brother once and for all. It'll be a great homecoming movie for this Christmas. Coming soon.
Well, I mean, it's pretty great, right? That sets up a great deal of conflict between the traitor legions. Because some of the legions are fighting against one another for the opportunity to turn Guilliman. While Fulgrim does not care. Yeah. He's like, oh, I have to get to him before these jerks do.
Yeah, because...
and even if they did manage to turn Guilliman, Fulgrim would still want to kill him.
Yeah, exactly. And that means, because this was little hints that were dropped in the, big rule book and the Dark Imperium book and blah, blah, blah. Could it be that we get Fulgrim as a demon Primarch soon? Well, you've got Magnus, We're gonna get Morty because I can never pronounce his name, so we're gonna call him Morty. But Fulgrim,
I'll tell you what, Fulgrim is gonna be a beautiful model,
of course,
when they release him, because the description in the Dark Imperium book is exquisite.
Well,
so
maybe they'll bring back Ferrus Manus also with a glue-on head or a magnetized
with a bionic head.
Yeah, magnetized. Whatever. Well, there's been other comments and various things like, well, they can bring something back as long as they've got a hand or a head or whatever. So yeah. All right.
Well, I think it's time to take a break.
Yep.
We're gonna come back and talk about Emperor's Children on your tabletop.
Dallas Fort Worth Nerd Night is a community organization that throws tabletop gaming parties for charity. We believe tabletop gamers are uniquely qualified to build better local communities because of the types of relationships built while gaming. If you'd like to learn more about how you can play games and help people with DFW Nerd Night, check out www.dfwnn.org. That's www.dfwnn.org.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det ikke en bikkje, det en slags ting. Den imiterer en bikkje, men det ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Greetings, mofos. Just kidding. So...
Sorry, that was really funny.
We're gonna take a quick sidetrack and talk about the new Iron Warriors rules, which were released on the Warhammer community website. So we don't have to wait for the book to come to talk about this. Their warlord or their legion trait is the same as the Imperial Fists. Enemy units attacked by units with this trait do not gain any bonus to their saving throws for being in cover. In addition, you can reroll failed to wound rolls for units with this trait when they target a building. Which is the trait that I came up with was they could shoot blast weapons without line of sight. Which I guess that's kind of difficult to adjudicate, but it would have been nice for it to be different.
Yeah.
But I guess, when the rule set is so kind of has been simplified a bit,
yeah.
It makes it hard to come up with different things to talk about very, very similar abilities. And I think we see that in the detachments. We see that in warlord traits and stuff all the time now.
Well, that's essentially the same chapter tactics as the Imperial Fists. And
yeah, it is.
Basically, the beginning of Angel Exterminatus is maybe the first couple, maybe 3 or 4 chapters is an assault on an Imperial Fist stronghold by the Iron Warriors. And they just basically spend the entire time playing mental chess with the fists, trying to get into the fortress. So I'll be really honest, it doesn't bother me that they have such similar tactics because they are essentially
because they have similar tactics.
Yeah, that's who they are. I mean, it just reminds me like it seems to be every Primarch is doubled and their Legion is doubled. And, one's fallen to chaos and one's fallen or stayed as loyal. So
that's a good point. There are a lot of similarities between like each Legion, each Chaos Legion, and each Loyalist Legion does seem to have a counterpart.
Yeah.
And even like the Luna Wolves and they're great leaders. They're great they're more great at being kind of they're great manipulators where the Ultramarines are great leaders.
Right.
So it's very interesting. So they have the relic that they have up here is a lot crunchier than the one I did. The flesh metal exoskeleton. The bearer has a save of 2+, and they heal 1 wound at the start of each of your turns. So that's pretty great.
Yeah. Yep.
The Iron Warriors Warlord trait that they show is cold and bitter. Iron Warriors within 6 inches of your Warlord automatically pass morale checks, which is super good. Mm-hmm. So, very interesting. I think it definitely has a great Iron Warrior. It feels very Iron Warriors, so I'd be interested to see more in the way of stratagems.
Yeah.
But we'll get that more as we go forward.
Yeah.
So again, we don't have the Chaos Codex yet. We probably won't get that till tomorrow, and we'll talk more about it in the next episode. Actually, we will have already talked about it in the previous segment with John.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but the Emperor's Children Legion trait is super great. It lets you fight first in the fight phase, so that's super gross. And it'll suit my army very well because I plan on getting up in there with my Noise Marines. Like even one of my Noise Marine units has close combat weapons already modeled on them because I had planned on getting up in there. So I don't mind that. I think it's great. And all of my champions have fists or swords. Mm-hmm. Like I'm going all in with that. So I was already ready to go first in the combat phase. So whatever.
Well, when in doubt.
That's good. Yeah, right. Yeah. So the Delightful Agonies is the mark of Slaanesh ability, psychic ability. It's a warp charge of 6, and if you select a Slaaneshi Heretic Astartes within 18 inches, and they basically get a 5-up, feel no pain.
Okay. That's pretty nice.
Yes. Pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Pretty nasty. And then we have kind of the piece de resistance of the stratagems here. A 2CP one called Endless Cacophony. Use this stratagem at the end of your shooting phase. Select a Heretic Astartes Slaanesh infantry or biker unit, and they can shoot again. So we just keep this
Warp GPUs.
The band just keeps playing, you know? So
yeah.
That is super great. It almost makes me want to add more sonic weapons to a unit, but I'm not going to change things up. I think 3 is good for a unit, but the article calls out like havocs and stuff too.
Oh, okay.
Like imagine a unit of las cannons, and the lore does talk about some old heresy units that they're just like, just take 8 las cannons and always hit your target because you're perfect. So there's things like that you can harness in your armies.
Wow. Okay. That's
imagine that, right? Just like, I'm shooting all my las cannons again.
Pew pew.
Or I'm shooting all my autocannons again for 2 command points. That's pretty sweet. Keep the band playing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's
so I was go ahead.
No, it's just making me think about other weapon profiles and whatnot that makes strength 3 like autocannons in the Horus Heresy, or not autocannons, what's the rotor cannons, that makes them a lot more interesting. Yeah. So this is really cool. I'm not going to go in. I don't think it would be a good idea to go into every unit now, since John and I will have talked about it in the previous segment. So I just want to talk about one thing that I found out called the Roaring Blades. Okay. They used to be called the Righteous Blades in the Imperial Army during the before the heresy, during the Great Crusade. Yeah. Now they're called the Roaring Blades because they fell to chaos super hard, and I assume that they are kind of still operating in some capacity now. Obviously, all of the humans are long dead, but I'm sure that the unit itself is still a part of the Legion. Yeah. And again, you might want to think about that for your armies, using the Renegade and Heretics.
What is it called? Traitor Legions?
Yeah.
Heretic, whatever.
Yeah.
They're in the Imperial Armor Index for the Astra Militarum.
Okay.
And they're in there, and you can use those they have the chaos keyword, and you can bring along a bunch of just kind of chaos infantry to go with your Emperor's Children, and that would very much be fitting with the lore. I don't think it would be infitting to do like artillery and a bunch of tanks and stuff. It would be more as chaff to hold up or to help soften your enemy and give your Emperor's Children a chance to strike with the full force of their shooting.
I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah. A bunch of poor tortured souls fighting alongside the Emperor's Children.
Well, lots of hobby and modeling opportunities. Although if you're dealing with Guard, you're dealing with Imperial Army, that's a lot of bodies. It's a lot of minis.
It is a lot. So why don't we move on and talk about the On Your Tabletop content that I put together for today's episode. we've got a short 3-game narrative that we put together for the Emperor's Children versus the Iron Hands.
Yep.
So this campaign is designed to offer you a narrative opportunity for an Iron Hands player and an Emperor's Children player to make war against each other, and it's really designed to take kind of that try to emulate some of the natural proclivities of both of those armies and expose their history and stuff. So I hope that you enjoy this campaign, and I hope that you play it and use it and give us feedback and let us know what you think. I mean, obviously this will be kind of a niche kind of kind of a niche thing that I don't think every listener is going to use this campaign, but I hope that you enjoy it.
So, Iron Hands, Forged for Glory. The Cicatrix Maledictum has encroached upon the Osmia system, territory that your clan had long since reconquered for the Emperor. The chapter serfs who had been mining the resources of the principal world, Osmia's Clove, have not been heard from since they were enveloped by the anomaly. Recently, however, short bursts of communications have been intercepted from Osmia's Cove, indicating that the Cicatrix Maledictum has contracted away from the system, at least for the time being. Although the communications are garbled and full of terrible emotion, it is imperative that you find out what has happened in the Osmia system. In addition, you must use the warriors and faculties at your disposal to reclaim at least some of the vast mineral resources buried beneath the world's cracked surface before the Great Rift can once again envelop the system.
For the Emperor's Children, we have Absolute Satisfaction. Your small band of hedonists has struggled under the yoke of your warlord for centuries, and have been rewarded with greater and greater heights of glorious depravity. Of late, however, you have focused on personal matters. Your desire for the ultimate in satisfaction has consumed your every moment. The warband hasn't quite suffered for this. Indeed, they have found many opportunities to grow their ranks and enhance their tortured bodies and souls. However, things seem to be coming to a head. You have found a way to draw one of your old enemies of the Iron Hands Legion into a trap of his own devising. You believe that, with the corruption, or at least the ruination of this one Astartes, you will experience a singular and definitive moment of satisfaction akin to that felt by Fulgrim upon his own ascension. So the idea here, you'll note that both of these kind of preambles are very vague. And that's on purpose. I want you to be able to plug in your own warlord. I mean, even the Iron Hands, you don't have to have like a iron... What is it? They're called Iron Fathers.
Yeah, Iron Fathers.
As a warlord,
yeah.
If you don't want to. Emperor's Children, you could have a sorcerer or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's meant to be... Even though there is a specific story happening, you're meant to be able to plug in whatever sub-story that you want in here.
So, Scenario 1, Chorus of Pain. I like that title. The armies. So, Iron Hands, a sorrowful task. Before you even make planetfall, the battle barge's astropath wails in pain over the vessel's internal vox. She reports that the world is screaming for the release of oblivion. These psychic screams are not only the product of the world's surviving inhabitants, but the world itself seems at the brink of tearing itself apart in a desperate attempt to end its torment. The astropath informs you that while the terrible psychic agony of the population is ongoing, it will be impossible to send word to the Imperium or call for any reinforcements. Indeed, she intends to initiate a self-induced coma in order to avoid going mad herself. Sadly, the first duty of the Iron Hands must be to locate their fallen chapter serfs and destroy them. This sad task will be as much a mercy as a tactical necessity. You know that, even among your stalwart Astartes warriors, morale will be a chief concern during the cleansing of Osmia's Cove.
For the Emperor's Children, we have the first thread. Your plan to lay low your enemy is multi-layered and quite cunning. The first stage of your plan is to lay down a front line of defense consisting of their own chapter serfs. In this way, you hope to force the Iron Hands to realize the weakness of their own doctrine. Weakness, of course, is something that the Iron Hands cannot abide. You have toiled for months in order to find ways to harness your captive's psychic agony, amplify it, and direct it towards your approaching enemy. The device that makes this possible was one of your own early experiments, but it is still quite ingenious and effective.
So, the battlefield. After several hours fighting through scattered cultist enclaves throughout the Osmia Prime ore processing complex, the Iron Hands have finally reached their objective. A large machine pulsing with warp energy is located deep within the enemy deployment zone. Other random machinery is scattered throughout the area. Clearly, there should be enough terrain that it shouldn't be hard to hide a unit of 10 infantry from long-range shooting attacks.
The objectives for this mission, the Iron Hands player scores 1 victory point each time for each unit of wretched serfs that is destroyed by the end of the game. The Emperor's Children player scores 1 victory point for each enemy unit destroyed by the end of the game. The Iron Hands player also scores an additional 1 victory point for every 3 wounds they have dealt to the Psychic Resonator by the end of the game. And then score 3 victory points if it is destroyed. So you'll see what the Psychic Resonator is later, but the idea is that the bigger the game, like the bigger the armies, the more wounds that Psychic Resonator will have, so the points will scale with the mission.
So, deployment. First, the Emperor's Children player must deploy their wretched serfs, wow, that's a difficult word, completely within 8 inches of the Psychic Resonator. The Emperor's Children player uses reserves for the rest of their army. After that, the Iron Hands player deploys their entire army. The power level...
Yeah, and don't forget, the reserves is a special rule in the narrative section of your main rule.
Oh, yeah. Power level. Players should use the same power level, and it's usually between 50 and 150 power levels. So not a huge army, but...
for the first turn...
Yeah.
That would be a big army. Yeah. For the first turn, the attacker will always have the first turn. And the game ends at turn 5, unless the Emperor's Children player wishes to play until turn 6. The victory conditions are going to be victory points based.
So our special rules, we have the Psychic Resonator, which, sounds like a relic, and my little Blood Raven heart is just beating. It's beat. You can hear it, can't you? It's just beating. All right.
Pitter patter.
Pitter patter.
Well, there's 2.
Yeah.
You have 2 hearts, so it's like...
Oh man, it's like a double kick drum, isn't it? Sorry. So the Psychic Resonator. The device is about 8 inches to a side on a regular battlefield, and should be about the same height. Okay, that's a good size. You may wish to pile several terrain pieces together to make the device. The Psychic Resonator has 3 wounds for every 10 power level the players are using in the game. Its toughness is 8, and it has a 3-up save.
And don't forget that it's 1 victory point for every 3 that you knock off.
Ooh, and that. The power field it generates has a protective effect on the device. If any of the models in a unit shoot at the Psychic Resonator from greater than 12 inches, it ignores any wounds dealt to it on a 5-up. Oh, okay. In addition, any units with models shooting at greater than 18 inches reduce their damage characteristic to 1. When the Psychic Resonator is destroyed, roll a die. On a 5-up, it explodes. Each unit within 9 inches takes D3 mortal wounds. Units with 10 or more models take D6 mortal wounds instead. That's a pretty cool little piece of gear. Okay.
Kaboom.
Yeah. At 150 power level, that's 45 wounds. That's more than a Mastodon.
It's a lot of wounds. You need to get into close combat with it to
yeah.
really take it out. That's kind of my intention there.
Yeah. This is not something you can just sit in the back and shoot at. Cool.
No, and that's kind of the idea. However, once a Vindicator getting up in there, that'll do some work. So the Wretched Serfs that we've been talking about, for every 20 power level or fraction thereof in the Emperor's Children army, may take a free unit of 10 cultists to represent the surviving Iron Hands chapter serfs. These Wretched Serfs enjoy a 5+ invulnerable save if all of their models are completely within 8 inches of the Psychic Resonator.
Okay.
In addition, the Emperor's Children must use the Sustained Assault rule for the chapter serfs. When the reinforcements arrive, they must do so as close as possible to the Psychic Resonator. So they're kind of being drawn towards the battle, drawn towards that Resonator. Now, there's another special rule here called Weakness of the Flesh. Whenever a unit of Wretched Serfs is destroyed, all Iron Hands models suffer a -1 leadership until the start of their next turn.
Oh, that's nice.
It doesn't say it doesn't stack either. So be careful, eliminating all these guys.
Yeah.
It's just all the Iron Hands are like, oh man,
You can only take care of one.
this doesn't work.
Well, the thing is, what is that?
Yep.
1 free unit for every 20 power level. So you're looking at anywhere from about 3 to 7. So just don't get too crazy. How about that?
And also they have Sustained Assault, so they keep on coming back in.
Oh, yes, they do have that. I even read that. Okay. Well, you read it, I read it. Or you said it, I read it. Okay. Next up, stratagems. Know your foe. Attacker stratagem, 2 command points. Use the stratagem immediately after you have finished your movement phase. Select an enemy unit within 18 inches to taunt. Within 18 inches to taunt. You may move that unit as if it were the movement phase. That's fun.
So this is the Emperor's... This is the Iron Hands like, hey, fatty, you're fat. You're a fat fatty. Boy, oh man, who taught you to shoot a bolter? Your grandma?
Oh, I was thinking more of the turning around, lifting up their kilts, and mooning them. Showing, some of my ancestry there. All right. Purge all weakness. Attacker stratagem, 2 command points. Use this stratagem after you destroy a unit of Wretched Serfs. Models in your army add +1 to their strength until the start of their next turn. Oh, that could be fun. That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so like even though their morale it takes a hit from killing the serfs, at least, but they feel good that they've cleansed that weakness from the
Yeah,
galaxy.
I like that. I like that a lot. Next up, structurally unsound. Another attacker stratagem, 1 command point. Use this stratagem after wounding the Psychic Resonator with a ranged weapon. That weapon may deal its normal damage, and the Resonator may not use its ability to ignore wounds on a 5-up. Huh. That could be interesting. Yeah.
So basically, the Iron Warrior or the Iron Hands have found a weakness in the system, and they're able to target it and take it out.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
So, for the Emperor's Children stratagems, we have Tormentor's Delight, which is 2 command points. Use this whenever you deploy a unit of Wretched Serfs. You may also deploy one of your other units within your deployment zone and within 3 inches of that unit of serfs. So you basically caught them torturing a bunch of humans. Then we have Eager for the Kill. Use this stratagem before you roll for a unit to arrive from reserves. That unit automatically arrives from reserves.
All right.
Then we have Pain because remember, all of the Emperor's Children are in reserves.
Yeah, that's right.
At the start of the game. Then we have Pain Amplitude. 3 command points. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. You may destroy a unit of 5 or more wretched serfs that is completely within 8 inches of the psychic resonator. All sonic weapons may fire twice this turn, targeting a different unit each time. So
Yeah.
you're giving up a point. You're giving up a victory point.
Right.
When you do this, but you get a bunch of extra shots.
Yeah, well, it's 3 command points, so...
Oh yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of command points. It's only 1 more than Endless Cacophony, but there is the trade-off of giving up that victory point. You're not going to be able to do this that many times.
Yeah, that would be a really bad idea.
Yeah, so the deployment map for this, just in case you didn't kind of guess, we have just a 12-inch from for the defenders. The defenders, this Emperor's Children, have a 12-inch deployment zone with a psychic resonator in the middle. And then the attacker has kind of a reverse version of the spearhead detachment, spearhead kind of deployment.
Yeah.
So you have 24 inches you have a 24-inch deployment zone, except it's pinched in the middle, so it's more of an enveloping formation than anything else. If you download our PDF, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's a very nicely drawn map, I must say. It's too bad we can't use, drop pods like we used to. Scenario 2, Sanctum Web. The armies. Iron Hands, greater dangers. The moment you have made your way through the first waves of your enemy, you realize his plans are painted with much broader strokes than you realize. Hell-wrought machinery spiderwebs across the planet's surface, and it quivers with tectonic agony. It has become clear to you that this world has somehow become partially sentient due to the corruption of the warp. Moreover, the Emperor's children are torturing it without mercy, and of course, deriving a sick pleasure from it. It is up to you to gather your breaching teams and make your way into the heart of the enemy position. There is no time to waste. Who knows what plans the Emperor's children are unhatching, nor how long the world will hold out. I like that. I mean, I shouldn't, but, partially sentient planet. Yeah, that speaks to me, man.
Yeah. and what would the Emperor's children do with such a planet?
Yeah, they torture it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would send mining into it immediately. I mean, there's whatever you think they could do, they would do, and more.
Yeah. So for the Emperor's children, your job is to hold them off. Your delight at witnessing the massacre at the Resonator was quite fulfilling, but the Iron Hands are drawing far too close to the truth for comfort. You must let them in, but only at just the right time.
So, the battlefield. The battlefield should be sectioned off into 3 distinct regions with impenetrable walls. Each wall should have a 12-inch space to represent a gate, each offset from the other. See the map for details. Other terrain should be scattered throughout the battlefield.
Right. So it's basically it's a regular Dawn of War deployment, but it's sectioned off into 3 2-foot by 6-foot sections by 2 long walls. So I guess you could just stack terrain there to, it's like stack ruins all next to each other to create those 2 walls. It's just there'll be about a 12-inch gap in each of the walls, but not right in front of each other. You want the Iron Hands player to have to walk all the way up and then all the way back and then all the way over again.
I'm looking at the map, and our buddy Peter from NGC 40K podcast, I think would love this map. I think he'd like to build this. This looks like this looks completely up his alley. So the objective, the objective of this is the goal of the Iron Warriors is to leave the battlefield from the opposite side. The goal of the Emperor's children is to delay their advance, and if you look at the deployment map, you'll see just what challenges both the Iron Warriors and the Emperor's Children have. Yeah.
So, for deployment, you start with the Iron Hands player. The players take their turns deploying units. Then the Emperor's Children player uses the blind deployment rules, which we love so much. That's where you put tokens instead of your actual units. The units are not revealed until the Iron Hands unit draws line of sight to them. So, you can move them around and stuff, but you're basically trusting that the person is not cheating. Yeah. But to be honest, again, this is narrative play. If you're cheating in 40K in general, you should probably consider some kind of help. But if you're cheating in narrative play, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Okay. For power level, you use the same power level, usually between 75 and 150. You want this game to be a bit bigger than the last one. The first turn goes to the attacker. The battle length is basically until all the Iron Hands have left the battlefield in one form or another.
On their shield or not.
Either having walked off or been put into the recycle bin. The victory conditions: if the game ends before turn 7, the Iron Hands win. Otherwise, the Emperor's Children win. However, if none of the Iron Hands units left the battlefield through the Emperor's Children battlefield edge, the game is a draw. So actually, as the Iron Hands, you can actually force a draw by getting killed before.
Okay.
After turn 7, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a good way to do that. It's interesting. Okay, yeah. Special rules. Ongoing narrative. So, the player who won the last game gets +1 command point in this game. Then we have defensive underground position. Models may not move over or fly over the walls sectioning off the battlefield. They must move through the gate sections. Each of the gates are protected by an energy field. Models may not move through the field, and line of sight may not be drawn through them. Note that some abilities will still work through the field by these standards.
Right, so in this case, like, some psychic abilities will work through it, but you won't know what's on the other side, so it's up to your opponent to make sure that they adjudicate those psychic abilities fairly and without cheating. Again,
if you're
cheating in narrative play is you're basically wasting your time.
You're a horrible human being. All right. The energy field has 1 wound per 10 power level of the game you're playing. It's toughness 8 and has a 3+ invul save.
Then we have an ability called Through the Breach. If an Iron Hands unit ends its movement with at least one model touching the enemy's battlefield edge, remove it from play.
Cool.
You basically have made it through the gauntlet.
Yeah, the deployment map, it looks like something that Peter would do for NGC 40K. Mm-hmm. I could see him creating some giant.
And I've drawn the first barrier so that it kind of goes into the defender deployment zone a little bit. That is, if the Emperor's Children player wants to put a unit or two kind of in front of the first line of defense, but they can also choose not to.
Yeah. I could see, though, him building some, multi-tiered, mountainous thing. Except instead of being, instead of being, 6x4, it would be, 16 feet or 12 feet or 18 feet.
Right. It kind of reminds me of the deployment map we had for the Battle of the Fang.
Yeah.
Getting more board space out of a standard 6x4 board by sectioning it off.
Yeah, that is, yeah. All right, so our stratagems for this scenario. First up is Desperate Battle, and it's an attacker stratagem, and it's 2 command points. Use the stratagem in your movement phase. All of your units may advance when they fall back this phase. That's pretty good, because if you fall back, then you're either going to go for a draw or a lose. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of want people to be able to get to that final objective for the Iron Hands.
Next up is Energy Resonance, and that's also an attacker stratagem, 2 command points. Use this stratagem during your shooting phase. During this phase, the gate energy fields reduce their invul save to 4 up, from 3 up. So that's...
Yes.
That could help you punch through there a lot quicker.
Yeah, basically using the Star Trek methodology of getting through shields. We need to get their shield resonance frequency. Boo, boo, boo.
I don't see Scotty on the board.
All you Star Trek nerds will know what that means. Now the Emperor's Children stratagems. First one is Your Time Will Come. 1 command point. Use this stratagem when your opponent declares they will be falling back with a unit. They may not fall back with that unit. Then we have Psychic Bash. 1 command point. Use this stratagem when you successfully manifest Smite with one of your Psychers. You may move an enemy unit d6 inches instead of dealing d3 mortal wounds to it. Or 2d6 inches instead of dealing a d6. So instead of like causing damage, you push them away.
That's interesting. That's cool.
Deadly Reversal. You like that one?
Yeah, I do like that one.
I put a bunch of like moving the enemy in here in this mission because I feel like the first one had the taunt.
Yeah.
The Iron Warriors taunting the Emperor's Children. This one, the Emperor's Children are just like smashing them away. Yeah. Deadly Reversal, 1 CP. Before revealing the identity of a unit, swap its token with another unit.
Cool.
So it was kind of like a fake maneuver with the hidden units special mission rule.
That's also, a nice little mental strategy as well. What's coming?
Uh-huh.
What's coming?
It's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to the what's the one from the book and also from the Zone Mortalis rules where you could have a decoy.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like the decoy, except instead of a decoy, it's an actual other different unit. It just got swapped instead of nothing. Nothing.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. It was the false blip thing. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so next up is Scenario 3, Perfect Satisfaction. Sorry, I had to do that.
Well, that's kind of that's what the Emperor's Children Warlord is going for. He wants to feel this specific emotion of satisfaction at having turned this Imperial turned this Iron Hands character against the Imperium, and that's what he's going for.
All right, so the armies. Iron Hands, cleansed of weakness. Although many of your brothers have died in the tyranny of your enemy, the strongest of your host has survived the gauntlet you've put them through. The sacrifices you have made will echo through the ages. One final task lies ahead. You must find and eliminate the enemy warlord while saving this world from almost certain destruction. If you can do it quickly enough, you may be able to salvage some of the planet's vast riches before it is enveloped once again by the Great Rift.
For the Emperor's Children, we are in the depths of depravity. The futility of your enemy's actions are almost too amusing to contemplate. This tainted world has no value for him. However, for you it holds the key to ultimate sensation. The world howls in pain, and all of that raw psychic torment is coursing through your veins. Although you share a taste with your most loyal allies, you cannot help but keep the lion's share for yourself. You deserve it, after all.
That sentence should be a lot sleazier. Sorry. Alright, so the battlefield. Each of the players places 6 objectives in the normal fashion. These represent a dozen psychic horror conduits. Each one cannot be within 12 inches of the player's own battlefield edge, but they may be placed up to within 6 inches of each other, and or a different battlefield edge. So that'll keep things from getting too clumped up, which sometimes happens whenever you have to place things at a certain distance and whatnot.
Objectives are that the Iron Hands must destroy every one of the psychic horror conduits. It's a very simple mission. The deployment is the standard deployment method. One player goes, then another player goes, and we're gonna just use simply use the frontline assault deployment map. So that's the one that's like a Dawn of War, but with triangles, so a little closer. For power level, I would go with 100, between 100 and 150, just to have a bigger game. And the player who finished setting up first gets to go first, unless the other player concedes the initiative.
So our battle length. Use random battle length for this mission. If the Emperor's Children player won the last game, then they have tactical advantage. They'll roll the dice to determine if the game continues, and may employ the command roll restratagem to effect this result. Victory conditions. If all the psychic horror conduits are destroyed, the Iron Hands score a major victory. If all the Iron Hands are killed, the Emperor's Children score a major victory. If only one warlord is slain, that side claims a minor victory. Any other result is a draw. So some of our special rules include Psychic Trap. At the end of their movement phase, the Iron Hands warlord must move 1d6 inches closer to the nearest objective. In reality, it is possible he may need to move farther than that in order to move around other models or obstructions.
So you must actually get that much closer. Not just move around that many inches, but you have to get d6 inches closer.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what's in the way. You figure out, you measure it out. Make sure he gets there.
Mm-hmm. And this is more of that like forced movement that's kind of happening in this mission, because it's all about being it's all about being enticed. It's all about being kind of driven towards your objective.
So after that, you roll a number of dice equal to the number of objectives within 12 inches of him. On a roll of 1, he has been enticed by the promise of a perfect form, free from the curse of flesh. Remove him from play. This dice may not be re-rolled. That's incredible. That is incredible. So you could actually lose the game if you roll like our buddy Skip. Sorry, John.
The next special rule is Arc of Pain. The Emperor's Children warlord may summon a bolt of agony from a nearby psychic horror conduit. At the start of their psychic phase, they may select an objective within 9 inches. That conduit either deals d6 mortal wounds to a single unit of the warlord's choice within 9 inches, or d3 mortal wounds to all units, friend or foe, within 3 inches. So good luck with that. Pure Agony. The effects of the delightful agony psychic power ignore wounds on a 4+ instead of a 5+ if both the caster and the target are within 3 inches of a conduit. I feel like that should be a stratagem instead, just because you need to have like a psyker and everything, and it's buffing something. Yeah. I think that needs to be a stratagem.
Okay. Yeah, let's throw that in there. So next up in our stratagems, we have Iron Bulwark. This is an attacker stratagem for the Iron Hands. 3 command points. All the units in your army are considered to be outnumbering enemy units for the purposes of holding objectives until the start of your next movement phase. Ooh, that could be nice. It is 3 command points, though, so use it wisely. Next up, Resist the Urge. Attacker stratagem, 2 points. Use this stratagem when the Iron Hands warlord would be removed from play due to the psychic trap that we spoke about earlier. He takes 3 mortal wounds instead of being removed from play, and his leadership is reduced by 1 for the remainder of the game. Oh, that's going to make some of the command points you have to be very careful with them in that regards, because it's quite possible that you could lose your warlord to the psychic trap very easily, especially if you roll badly.
Yeah, and this is like, he resists it, but he kind of either hurts himself or is hurt by the conduit when he does so. Like, he takes a little brain damage. He's basically him taking brain damage. But he might use this in conjunction with another stratagem. I believe, I don't know for a fact, but for the Iron Warriors, they have that 6+ resisting wounds. So even though he's taking 3 mortal wounds, he is Iron Warriors, so he may survive that damage.
Yeah.
He may resist it. So I thought that made sense for the Iron Warriors. And I would save a couple CP just in case that happens.
Yeah, I mean, just me reading just that one psychic trap thing automatically thought, oh, that's how I'm going to lose that game. I don't roll ones as often as some of our friends do, but I know plenty of people who come up with nothing but ones. All right.
Yeah, I had to have a stratagem in there to help avoid that terrible, terrible thing happening. So for the Emperor's Children, we already have that Pure Agony one that we talked about before, that we moved and put that under stratagems instead. We also have Purge Weakness. This is 5 command points. Use this stratagem before the dice are rolled to see if the Iron Hands Warlord is corrupted. He will be corrupted on either a roll of a 1 or a 2 on any of the dice.
Oh.
So,
wow.
This represents the Warlord kind of using psychological warfare to make the Iron Hands Warlord even further doubt his strength. And to try and to want even more to purge his flesh.
Yeah. Okay.
So I thought that would be interesting, but that's 5 command points.
That's a pretty serious.
You use
one.
that when you have that warlord and yeah. Surge of Agony is the next one. 2 command points. The Emperor's Children Warlord may harness an arc of pain from a distance of 18 inches instead of 9 inches.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's that.
Sorry.
That's the end. Sorry.
I'm still looking at the Purge Weakness, 5 command point thing and thinking, wow, this scenario, you probably want to have a lot of command points because you could easily.
Yeah, I would think that you want this to be a big game.
This needs to be.
I would go the full 150 on this.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, I think, but it also has 12 objectives. So, it's going to take a while to go through that, but you are Space Marines, which means you're already, all of your troops are already going to be able to supersede the Chaos Marines in their holding objectives, but the Attacker Stratagem will also help you a lot when grabbing objectives for that 3 command points. So I think I would love to play this out if I had any of these armies, which I don't. Oh wait, yes I do. I have Emperor's Children. So maybe I'll try to find someone who has Iron Hands, and we'll play a game.
I actually have someone who plays generic Space Marines. Just run them as Iron Hands. Because I bounce between chapter tactics like underwear. I'll let that visual sink in for a little while, ladies and gentlemen. You know you liked it. You just change your all your underwear are like underoos. They have like a different chapter symbol on the butt. Have you been in my closet again?
So, I've been really inspired by the way the new missions work. by the way the missions work now, and by the narrative missions, and I'm just having so much fun.
Well, I can.
I'm not.
No, I can see that in this writing. I've looked at a lot of your narrative rules over the years, and they always seem like fun. But this one, it looks like the stratagems. I think is something that you're going to love to write. I think that stratagems are right up your alley, just from knowing how you write things and how you put together stuff. So yeah, I like how this.
I really love how they let you harness the narrative of the specific armies.
Yeah, this looks like a lot of fun to play.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. Okay, well, why don't we take a break? We're going to come back and close out the show.
Do you play more than one mini war game? Or do you like listening to shows which discuss other games and pan hobby topics? Combat Phase is a weekly podcast covering the whole hobby for gamers. We also interview a lot of Black Library authors. Join Kenny and Robert as they try to grow the hobby. Combat Phase, the best part of the game, is on iTunes and www.combatphase.com.
This is David Annandale, and you're listening to Masters of the Forge, where they bring the world of Warhammer 40,000 to life on your tabletop.
Dude.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
And 9 minutes of recording. And that is without the interview and without whatever the hell I'm doing with Skip tomorrow.
It's going to be a big one. Phrasing.
It's going to be a big one, phrasing.
Yeah.
I also want to apologize to our listeners. We've been having sound issues connection issues the entire recording. So there'll be a lot of times this is why a lot of other podcasts record the intro after the actual show. But whatever. There were times I think when I was totally talking over you because I can't hear me.
Yeah.
I thought I can't hear you start talking, so I'm sorry if it sounds like that, like I'm being a dick. But I mean I am, but
I'm not editing that.
Not on purpose this time.
Well, I think the issue might also be that I've been having a lot of connection issues for the past week, and I've rebooted my router a couple of times, and I'm about to call these guys out and say, "Come on, man, just fix it, please." So we'll see.
Yeah, Wendy was saying, like when we took a break earlier, Wendy asked me, "Hey, are you having trouble connecting to the Wi-Fi?" I'm like, "Yeah, Time Warner is garbage. I may need a new router, but I'm not sure." Anyways, listeners, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening through that a little bit. I hope that you're enjoying the return to long episodes. I like being able to get good meaty content in, so it doesn't bother me any, as long as it doesn't bother Jason any. Nope. I know they're probably really long editing sessions, but there are fewer editing sessions, so that it all ends up in the wash.
It's not a big deal because I just run the bounce, which is the longest part of the edit when I go to bed. Just press record. Well, not record, but press bounce.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. Be sure to check our website for the On Your Tabletop for this one, and please try out the missions. And please do still give us iTunes reviews and like us on Facebook. One thing that's new, though, is that we now have a new Discord channel for chatting with the NPC.
Yep.
So go ahead and go to our Facebook page, and one of the recent posts will have the NPC invitation. Go ahead and check it out. There's a bunch of cool people already on there chatting, but go ahead and join that conversation. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're having all sorts of fun conversations in there, including talking about modeling of minis, not any other modeling. Sorry. And paint tips. We've talked about painting in there. We've gone on to a rather long discussion about beaches in Canada and South Texas earlier today, which was amusing and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good fun. I like it, and it's a lot easier than Facebook. And also, I don't like to have Facebook open at work, so that's nice. It's also another thing. So next week we're going to be the episode. The tentative title of the episode is "Ambling Along." This is my new buddy Dave, who I met at Astronomicon this year, and also all our other buddies out there who love the old lore. Yep. Hopefully we'll have Big Jim on to help us talk about this. We're gonna be basically going into a lot of the other old lore that GW hasn't gone into yet, including like they've already started doing some great stuff like Death Watch stuff and stuff with the Gene Stealer cults. But we're gonna talk about a bunch of other crazy dumb stuff that who knows you might see come across in a chapter approved book in the near future or whatever. But we're going to talk about it next time.
Are we going to talk about psychic what is the word? Hibernating bears?
Flying psychic teddy bears?
The Tau.
All right, guys. Check us out then. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
It just sounds like you're like, I'm like, what are we gonna do tonight, Pinky? And you're like, game, we, 2. Like it's just terrible.
Oh man,
it's just the worst.
Well, we'll get the connection stuff sorted.
Yeah, we're just gonna freaking just bomb time.
We're gonna nail it.
I mean, I didn't say that.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.